So then what'd you do?
Well, I did what everyone was expecting. I made out with Lois for a little bit, flew out into space, and smiled for the camera.
Sweet. Can you imagine if you had to fight those guys on land?
Oh my gosh, thousands of people might have died!
Plus billions of dollars in property damages.
I can't pay that kind of debt on a Daily Planet salary. I mean, you could, because you're...
Because I'm Batman.
I was gonna say rich.
I am also rich. I'm Rich Batman!
Oh my gosh.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Rolling 20s. We are the show that's been replaced by mustachioed doppelgangers from an alternate universe, and we've been told everyone likes them better. I am Jeremy.
I'm Steve.
I'm disappointed.
V.
Remember, you can subscribe to this show and several others in the MSP library at missionstarpodcast.com. You can subscribe to us on iTunes and on Stitcher, like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter at the Rolling 20s. You can send me any fan mail, suggestions for the show, or hate mail at mspfreight@yahoo.com. Good morning. The music you heard at the beginning of the show was by a band called Machinae Supremacy. You can find their music for free download at machinaesupremacy.com, as well as their latest couple of albums on Amazon.com. The clip you heard at the beginning of the show was a small clip from How It Should Have Ended, The Man of Steel. You can bet there's a lot of stuff in there that should have been changed. Just a couple of items. How is your mornings? The sun is coming up.
Barely.
It's looking a little cloudy out there.
Really? That's the way it was here yesterday.
Yeah, it's cloudy here too.
It ain't cloudy here. It has a haze.
It's supposed to be 80 fucking degrees today. Now,
That would be nice today.
I'm having a little bit of sticker shock because I spent some money yesterday, as I was saying. I went out to a video game store just intending to take a look around, and it turns out they had used games at a good price, so I now own a PS3. This name is going to sound familiar to Steve especially. I went to the Game Dude.
oh, wow.
The Game Dude, how should I... You know how in a lot of 80s movies they portrayed these nerd utopias, these odd places that had to have racks and racks of like video games and peripherals and things like that, posters on walls. This is that kind of place. They took an industrial building, one of the sections of it that have the garage doors and all that, and they bolted in some shelves. They put a whole bunch of glass cases, and you can still buy Nintendo games here.
Wow.
Really?
Yeah, the old school 8-bit Nintendo cartridges. They had at least 2 glass cases full of them. If that tells you anything about what kind of place this is. And I bought a used copy of the new Kingdom Hearts for $29.
Nice.
The PS3 Kingdom Hearts, I should say. So their prices are hard to beat. GameStop could learn something from these guys.
Who goes to GameStop?
We'll move on.
I'm kidding. I know people go to GameStop.
Yeah, how about the rest of you?
I don't have a console, so...
No.
Yeah.
Should get yourselves a Retron.
Maybe.
I found out the Retron 5's come out the early part of April. So that's definitely on my radar. My wife is such a lovely nerd that even she was saying, we got to get one of those and we got to come back here and actually get some games for it and show the kids. Like, wow, okay. Get made fun of by a 9-year-old. I can't believe you used to play this, man. How old are you guys? That'll be a trip. The discussion this week is a thinker, because we decided to get, I guess you could say it's kind of a crossover theme. Borrowing the idea of Doctor Who, of fixed points in time, we're going to discuss comic book events and figure out which of those should be fixed points in time and which ones of those should definitely not be. But before we get into that, we're going to do our usual Kickstarter corner. I guess cat cafes are a harder sell than I thought they would be. We talked last week about how the project of the Catman of West Oakland did not go through.
Mm-hmm.
And then we found the new one that's of Carlos Wong of Los Angeles, California, to build a cat cafe down in the Southland.
Right.
Well, his Kickstarter has 8 days to go. It ends on March 31st. It has 347 backers. The goal is $350,000. He currently stands at $9,295.
Yeah. I think it's kind of similar situation to what that one girl that was trying to make.
Yeah, I was just about to say
That Black Dog Hobby and Game one?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's like, all right, if you live in LA, then maybe, it might be worth backing. But, I don't know a lot of people that would be like, all right, let's, fly across the continental United States or, from out of the country to go visit a cat cafe or something, So you're kind of limiting your potential donors by,
Yeah.
I think there's also an idea as to what exactly that money is for, because going through the Kickstarter page, he doesn't tell you what this $350,000 budget is for. And sometimes when you're going into a business like this, even on a crowdfunder, people want to understand what that money is going towards.
Yeah,
that's not very clear. At $350,000 is more than rent. It almost makes it sound like he's going to buy a small building.
Well, maybe he is. I mean, they're going to need space to do it in, right?
Yeah, I would assume, but I'm not a business owner, and I couldn't tell you what property values are down here.
A lot.
I was going to make that guess. It's $150,000 for like a double wide on a mobile plot, so I don't know what $350,000 will get you.
Yeah, well, and then I'm sure he has lots of permits and everything.
Oh, gotta be. I can imagine the complication of the permits regarding keeping animals on property.
Yeah.
But
especially how many animals, because...
And legal fees because of that.
Yeah, there tends to be an ordinance about, how many cats you can have in one place.
Yeah. Oh, well. We'll move on from there because we've got one that ended. Super Mario Brothers stop-motion pixel art. Guy de Pesmer of Montreal, Canada, is planning on making a recreation of Super Mario Bros. World 1-1 using Hama and Perler beads. This sounds like such a trip. He's done several videos before. His Kickstarter ended yesterday, which would make it the 22nd of March. He had 73 backers. His goal was just $300. He ended at $1,341.
So...
He's going to make Worlds 1-1 and 1-2. He came up a little short of Stage 1-3 at $1,500.
Yeah.
So he's going to be busy. That's a lot of wire and beads.
Mm-hmm.
This must be a side project for him, because I can't imagine he's funding a lifestyle with just $1,341 Canadian.
Yeah, I imagine a lot of Kickstarters, at least a lot of the ones we've been discussing, you probably have to do something else.
Yeah. That would almost be a guarantee. Something else we've been into recently is Hi-Fi Color for Comics. It's done by Brian Miller of Surprise, Arizona. There's no way to say that without being an ass, I guess. It is a step-by-step instruction on how to color comic books with tools like Photoshop tutorials. It's in digital and hardcover format. It'll tell you how to use several different types of tools, but it's supposed to be a 1-2-3 step, and it'll tell you how to do flat color, render color, color hold, special effects, color separations. And it features pro artwork by some people like Humberto Ramos, J. Scott Campbell, John Byrne, Tommy Nguyen. So it's a pretty high-profile thing. It has 10 days to go and ends on April 2nd. It has 524 backers. The goal is $14,900. Currently sits at $19,591.
Nice.
I will not lie. I put money down on this one myself. Not for any other reason than because it's a fun hobby for me to play around with digital color programs. And this seems like a good way to actually learn something beyond, ooh, I can use a paintbrush here. Their only stretch goal unlocked right now is 19,900, which will spiral around the print edition, which for people who flip through books will know that's important. Because you don't want to sit there with the book on your table trying to press down that annoying fucking glue binding.
Yeah.
And we have one that's taken a turn. Remember, I think in the last couple of weeks, we brought up Black Tiger comic book movie starring Robin Shou and Angela Fong.
Mm-hmm.
It is a small, I think, 20-minute movie that is based on the Black Tiger comic book about a woman whose father is killed and seeks revenge. Watch, rinse, repeat, comic book origin story here. It's being done by Beyond Time of Duarte, California. It has 40 hours to go. It ends on Monday, March 24th. 214 backers. The goal to get this done and debut it at WonderCon in April would be $12,000. Currently sits at $12,840.
Oh, wow.
Nice.
Nice.
I think we were pessimistic on this one for the last couple of weeks, but they came up with the money.
Yeah. Well, honestly, it sounds like one of those last-minute Kickstarter.
Varies.
Yeah.
I'm starting to wonder how exactly that works, because it almost seems like half the projects we talk about, it's not exactly people just going at the last minute, oh, I really want to see this happen. It seems more like a bunch of people going, I have $20 left, and this seems like a good idea.
Yeah, I know some of it is the fact that, people like to wait till the last minute just to get a sense of whether or not it is going to go through. And then, some of it's also just, I can afford it now, so...
Or you get the people that's like, ooh, I just fuck with these guys and pull at the last minute. There are people like that.
That could be, but the project is going to be starring Angela Fong as Jennifer Fong, the Black Tiger. Robin Shou is Pacific Fong. They really call him Pacific Fong? Okay. Gordon Lee is Salem Crow. Is this an Indian film? Did I miss something here? Rico Anderson is Derek Washington. Michelle Saman as Evsei Timofeev, and Lauren Weinberger as Alina. I'm kind of stuck on Robin Shou being called Pacific Fong. I'm kind of surprised you didn't pick up the script and go, okay, I'll do this, but we got to change one thing here. Huh. Well, something else we have is Earthlock, Festival of Magic. It is a game being proposed by Snowcastle Games of Oslo, Norway. It's also on the Steam Greenlight project. It's a turn-based original role-playing game set in a world of machines, magic, and a world that stopped spinning thousands of years ago. Has 19 days to go and ends on April 11th. 2,288 backers. The goal is $150,000. Currently sits at $72,516. Correct me if I'm wrong, but that's a burst of funding from the last time we checked in on this.
I believe so.
Well, maybe it helps that they've added a new object. They have a device in the game called a spud gun, a potato launcher. And if you add $50 to your donation, you can get this thing recreated as a USB flash drive. And it'll have a copy of the game on it. Wouldn't that be a way to play the game? Somebody watches you pull out this small thing, it looks like a gun, and shove it into your USB port. It's an interesting concept at the very least. It does have my attention, although I'm not very much into games on my PC. I understand there's people out there who are just saying, it's so much better on PC. That's fine. Calm down. I just, my PC is generally for my typing and my, my internet duties, and my consoles are where I usually game. It's just the way I am. And Steve and Jesse, there are certain times where I think I have to peel them off their PCs while they're gaming.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. I need to upgrade mine, though.
I'm getting to that point myself. Something else we've been following relatively recently is Pro Wrestling X. Wrestling Gamers United of Lethbridge, Canada, is creating an old-fashioned game based on the classic, I guess you could say, World Wrestling Federation games from the early 90s on Super Nintendo. With a whole bunch of original characters and updated graphics engine. As they put it, pro wrestling games lost their classic style of fun over a decade ago. We're bringing it back. This project has 15 days to go and ends on April 7th. Has 439 backers. The goal is $6,400 Canadian. They currently sit at $14,633 Canadian.
Wow.
Yeah, they've gone beyond really way beyond what they needed to. But oddly enough, they still don't have at least a couple of their stretch goals done. If they can get up to $16,000 Canadian, they'll add international objects, meaning weapons. I assume when they say international objects, they mean the barbed wire bat and a few other things that catch on fire.
Yeah.
And then at at 20,000, they'll add a new character selected by the backers. That probably means a vote of some point eventually. I can't imagine that means Jeff Hardy will suddenly be in the game. But they did meet one stretch goal at 12,000, which means they're adding the classic blue steel cage. Not the fence one that you see in a lot of TV shows nowadays. The old blue one that, you could stick like whole hands and feet through. I don't know if Steve remembers that one. It actually looked more like an animal cage.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, that was the stuff that, larger people like Andre the Giant could actually climb if you wanted to. Something Steve brought to us is the Orion Project. Some kind of new game that I'm still a little hazy on that involves dinosaurs, robots, and spaceships. For all I know, that could mean it's based on Transformers 4. Steve, explain this to me, please.
Okay, it's basically an kind of his concept of not necessarily an MMO, but more of an open world multiplayer shooter where you can either play against each other, kind of like Halo or Call of Duty or something, kill each other, with guns, or go up against one side being the dinosaurs, another side being the people with the guns and mechs and all that fun stuff, or they have several settings, including, like I said, an open world, but it's a survival mode, all kinds of different capture the flag, all kinds of stuff like that. But he's basically trying to start this seed, which would be the basic game, and then do add-ons over time, new modes, new weapons, all kinds of different stuff, including, I believe, he wants to start letting you travel between planets and so forth. So yeah, this is just to fund the original basic game. He's been doing iterations of it over the years, including the current game that people can buy. It's called Orion Dino Horde.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Oh yeah, I've seen that on Steam. I think I might even own it.
All right.
Yeah, I picked it up for 99 cents, so they had a sale going on.
Well, this project has 36 days to go and ends on Monday, April 28th, has 491 backers. The goal is $200,000. Currently sits at $20,170.
Yep, which is...
They're having serious trouble.
A little bit of an increase.
A bit, I think of about $1,000.
Yeah.
But they're having real trouble getting this one moving forward.
Yeah, I think some of it's just getting the word out. I haven't really seen it advertised too much except on the Dino Horde game on Steam.
Well, I think I may have found part of the problem. Apparently they set a precedent to all the people who backed their Kickstarter back in 2011. Those people get a copy of every game this company produces for life.
Yeah, actually buying into this one gets you the same thing.
Yeah, that is kind of shooting yourself in the foot, though, because that means people who are more likely to back your subsequent projects now don't have to spend a dime.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think they're probably hoping for loyalty, but...
Yeah.
The buy-in price is actually pretty cheap. If you want a copy of the game, it's $5.
I know. It's just, like I said, that means that the prior people just don't have an incentive to spend money unless they're feeling pragmatic.
Right. Well, I mean, honestly, if even if you buy the game for $5, it's kind of like, how many people do you need to back the game then?
Roughly, 40,000?
Yeah. So I don't think I've seen too many Kickstarters that actually get that high.
Yeah.
So.
Well, speaking of Kickstarters that get high, we have Pono Music. The Pono team of San Francisco, California has come up with a music player that the idea is it's supposed to add depth back to the music that a lot of current musicians and producers feel is missing due to the digital form of music. They say that a lot of the sound depth is lost in current production and compression forms. This player supposedly can add a lot of that back. It has 23 days to go and ends on Tuesday, April 15th. has 13,933 backers. The goal is $800,000. They currently stand at $4,717,864.
Wow.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Mm-hmm.
They have all kinds of odd incentives, but the best way right now you are going to get one of these Pono players is to hand over at least $300. They still have 205, or they still have 1,795 available at $300, which, believe it or not, is still a savings of 25% on the retail of this at $400. I would have to see one before I purchase, just because that's a big promise to add sound depth back to music. But if they could do that, you'd probably find me with one of these, like, in my ear constantly. They're this odd triangular player, which bucks the trend a bit. I don't know the technology myself, but they've been featured in the Wall Street Journal, Mashable, NPR, Rolling Stone Music, CNET, Hollywood Reporter, The Verge, The New York Times, USA Today, Time Tech, Spin, Forbes, CNN Money, Billboard, Newsweek, The Guardian, Stereo Gum, Bloomberg Business, Hypebot, and the HuffPost Tech.
Breathe,
So,
man.
everybody.
That's more tech. That's more tech blogs than I know about in my own head. You can also get a signature series. They have versions of these things that have etched-in signatures by Neil Young or Dave Matthews, several other artists, and they're brushed aluminum, so you can actually see the signature. I admit to a massive amount of curiosity in this. It's just $400 is an awful lot to spend on tech that I have not seen yet. I understand I'm talking about it here, but there's a difference between seeing a video on something and watching somebody flip around and talk about how great the music is, and then actually putting it in your ears and testing the damn thing out. But that's just the way I work. I would need to see one.
Yeah, I'm inclined to agree with that.
We also have Planets Cubed, which is an open-world 3D voxel-based RPG. I'm still not quite sure what the word voxel entails, but think of it as Minecraft with more nuances and detail from what I can see. It has 13 days to go and ends on Saturday, April 5th. 5,730 backers. The goal is $250,000. Out of everything we've been following, this may be the closest one yet, because it currently sits at $166,729. So they have about a third of it to go, with a third of the Kickstarter left in time. It's being done by Cubicle Drift of Cambridge, Massachusetts. I just sent the others a link to take a look at this, because I don't play Minecraft. It boggles me that people do.
Me too.
But this looks much more nuanced. There's actually have levels to planets and how you can build new worlds instead of just weird new castles.
Oh, you can do the same thing in Minecraft.
Oh, can you?
Mhm.
I'm not aware.
There's a lot of stuff you can do in Minecraft. You'd be amazed at how much I know about Minecraft and never played it.
I'd believe it just based on the amount of playthrough videos that are sitting out there. But looking at the example pictures on the Kickstarter, this does look much more detailed than Minecraft.
Ooh, I actually really like this art.
Yeah.
I might actually play this if this gets made.
Well, it's about 50-50 right now. This has a chance. It is kind of creepy looking at off the corner of a planet and seeing a few qubits like very close by. It's a little bizarre, but hey, to each their own. I'm sure there are people that'll play.
Mm-hmm.
The last one I have is one that we mentioned in last week's reports. It's I Want My Nerd HQ. It's being done by Zachary Levi, the star of the Chuck TV series. He's trying to continue his yearly event that goes on the same time as Comic-Con, and he's looking for crowdfunding to help get that through. It's on Indiegogo. It has 34 days to go. This would end on April 25th. The goal is $1 million. Currently sits at $182,055. Now that's after 7,685 backers. That's not bad. People are actually putting in a decent amount of money per. It is just a large goal.
Mm-hmm.
Let me see. If you donate $1,000 at the top tier, you get to be part of the exclusive Nerd HQ Army. You get an email list that will receive updates, photos, videos, and more throughout the event planning process that can't be found anywhere else. Your name will be placed on the Nerd HQ Wall of Honor at the event and on the contributor page at thenerdmachine.com. And you'll also get eternal gratitude, loyalty, and the pledge to bring you the best Nerd HQ ever. So I'm not sure what else I can say about that because I'm not sure what the guest list is. I know that previously he's talked to Tom Hiddleston and Vin Diesel and Seth Green, Jared Padalecki and Joss Whedon. So he actually does talk to pretty big people in the nerd world. I just don't know what next year is supposed to entail.
Should be interesting.
I'd like to hear him do this. I mean, that's not just the nerd in me talking. That's because I'm trying to figure out what else I can do at Comic-Con, and I would like as many choices as possible. So yeah, part of this is my my dickish greed.
Okay, to be greedy.
Yeah, Gordon Gekko tells me that a lot. From there, we'll move on to video game news. And we talk about video games lately because comic books tend to do a lot of cross-culture stuff, and there's also the idea that some people that listen to this podcast are also gamers, myself included. So video game news does strike a chord with me. One of the bigger things that came out last week is that for this new version of Ultra Street Fighter 4, there's been talk about this mystery fifth character for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
That's supposed to be added in addition to, I believe, Elena, the big bruiser from the Final Fantasy series. I can't remember, Andre or something?
Yeah, I don't remember.
Fuck. Okay. There's also Poison and I think Elena and Rolento. So there's been a fifth character that they haven't announced until Monday of last week, and I'm not sure it's a good thing. The character was announced as DeCapre. Now, DeCapre looks an awful lot like Cammy in one of the Bison Dolls outfit with his bizarre mask on.
Yeah, it's a Cammy clone.
Yeah. So I guess my first question is, if you're going to do this, couldn't you at least make it look original? I can understand why the moveset would be similar. I really can. But there was like 12 dolls throughout the history of the Street Fighter games. Couldn't you pick something that looked different?
Well, maybe they're trying to use the similarity to draw people in.
Could be, but considering this would be the fourth update where you have to pay $40 to get your hands on it, in addition to the other prior games,
And I'm pretty sure they've already included Cammy.
Yeah, she's already in the game. This is irritating. This doesn't make me want to spend, $40 for the fifth time, to get 5 new characters. Especially since I now have the idea that only 4 of them are actually new. So it's an irritation to me. And I'm saying that as a long-term Street Fighter fan. I think they've reached into my wallet a few too many times here. But I'll add a video. You can see that the game style is a little different. But actually, do you guys want to see the video?
Yeah, sure.
Unfortunately, the video has a little bit of a preamble. It starts out in the style of Street Fighter Alpha 3, where Bison is just kind of making fun of different people coming at him. Then he will summon his dolls, and you'll notice that one in there looks relatively new, because I'd never seen one that has a steel mask on their face before. And some people were kind of disappointed because at the first part of the video, Rainbow Mika shows up, and a lot of people were hoping that maybe he grabbed her and, Psycho crushed her or something and hypnotized her. Turns out that no, he just fireballed her and threw her away. And,
Like you do.
yeah. Then somebody that's not even in the game shows up. He gets tossed out. So, yeah, he summons his dolls, and there's probably a dozen of them. But one sticks out because they have this funky mask, and she's the one that's up there. In the video, actually, if you get to about the 115 mark, they actually get into the character. About the only major difference is that now in those gigantic gauntlets she wears, there is a blade that pops out of one of them. As far as basic punching and kicking, it looks very much like Cammy. So, this is a disappointment to me.
Well, I've never played Street Fighter before, and this certainly isn't going to change my mind based on this trailer.
Steve, Jesse, and I have a long history of irritating each other. Steve's cousins especially had to watch us go through a 45-minute battle.
Nephews, but yeah.
Yeah, 3 rounds took 45 minutes. Obviously the clock was set on infinite.
Yeah, it didn't really help that we were both playing Chun-Li.
Yeah. Well. Yeah, but the video goes on at about 156. It starts going into the other characters. Hugo was the name of the bruiser I missed.
Yeah,
Oh,
that
that's
was
from the final fight?
Yeah. Well, yeah, so it's Poison. So, you guys can have your own opinions as you please. I wish for more. In further video game news, the creator of Ace Attorney, he didn't want to continue the series past the third one. Ace Attorney is a kind of comedic take on the law process. It's been very big on the DS systems for Nintendo. And the creator of the series, Shu Takumi, has been quoted as saying, quote, "I felt that Phoenix's story had been told and that the series should not continue. Knowing when to end a story is very important, and I wanted to avoid dragging it out and having it become a shadow of his former self," unquote. Oh my god! I love this man! There are certain series that go on way too fucking long and it doesn't make any more sense.
Yeah, it's kind of like what happened with the Dragon Ball Z thing.
Yeah, he actually went on, quote, "Years later when it was decided that within Capcom that Ace Attorney would go ahead, my position was that we should change the main character and tell a new story. I didn't plan to have Phoenix in the game, but my colleagues said they wanted him to appear in some form, which is why they ended up being the accused in the first case in Apollo Justice, Ace Attorney," unquote. Jeez. I've never played the games, but I can certainly I can certainly empathize with overkill in video games. There are some series that go on so fucking long. It's like the Metal Gear Solid games. I've noticed that they've tried to overcome some of the apathy and the monotony by changing the lead characters, which helps some. But it's not quite the same game anymore. You almost feel like they should make something new. Oh well. And let me see. I have a cinematic from the opening of Final Fantasy X and X2 HD remaster for the PS3. There was a serious graphical upgrade there.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, I won't bore you guys with the details because you have obviously been there and you have connection to the internet, but I will say that when it comes to the difference between the HD and the original, it's obvious. They didn't even upgrade the graphics, just the engine, and they added an HD gloss to it all, but it looks much better. Of course, you remember how mind-bending the original opening to Final Fantasy X was. Seems like we can't go a week since its opening without mentioning Titanfall in some way. This one is
not.
Yeah, this one is kind of interesting somehow. Well, I shouldn't say somehow. This is interesting because reviews of the game on Amazon.com are disappearing.
Like literally vanishing?
Yeah, according to ScrewAttack.com, within 72 hours of the release, it began receiving the usual hate mail in their reviews regarding certain games not working, and a lot of positive reviews by people who were getting it to work. But on the Xbox One page of Amazon regarding Titanfall, they actually have photos where you can see the group of 5-star reviews at 96, and the next one they took was at 95, the next one they took was at 79. The 5-star reviews were actually vanishing. At the time they wrote the story, which was the 17th of March, they said that there were only 102 reviews, and 77 of them were 5-star, 17 were 4-star, 7 were 3-star, 1 was 2-star, and there were no 1-star reviews. Even though at one point you can see there's 22 of them, and then there were 6 of them, and then there was 1 of them in the 1-star reviews. I don't know why you would do that, unless they're afraid that it's a bunch of spammers and everything.
It could just actually be some sort of database issue, I guess.
I don't know. I guess one of the things that just popped into mind is that how people are manufacturing the video game wars amongst themselves. Mm-hmm. Maybe there was a bunch of people who were just throwing down negative reviews for the sake of. I'd like to say that wouldn't happen, but I've seen it happen.
Yeah.
I've seen people put down 1-star reviews and just start laughing about how the Xbox One is so inferior to everything else out there. I don't know if that's part of it, but hey. I'm sure there's a decent reason for this, because you wouldn't want to ruin your reputation by changing around the number of reviews.
Yeah, if they figured out that they weren't like genuine reviews somehow, I could see them taking it down.
Yeah. One example of a review they took down was, quote, "This game was fun at first, but it got old very quickly. The graphics are not very next-gen. I had significant lag issues when the action would get intense. I knew it had lack of single-player, but it is really missing with the very slim multiplayer options. This is not worth full price. I will be trading the game in soon. Very disappointed. I hope that the X1 gets a better exclusive soon." Unquote. I'd be curious to know about his connection, because I have a shitty connection here, and I've never had a slowdown playing the game. I've been surrounded by 3 machines and like 4 minions and 2 pilots after my ass, and it's still full frame rate, and I watch myself drop. So, I don't know what his problem is. In further news, Respawn has shot down the idea that part of the new DLC will be new Titans. In the game, you currently have a selection of 3. And, let me see. Albie Hep, a rep from Respawn, said, quote, "We're always looking towards integrating and what's next and what we can learn. Being one of the first companies that's doing it in the way we did, I'm pretty happy about that. In order to add a Titan, it takes so much balancing to make all the Titan abilities work with each other, and then against pilots," unquote. So it sounds like they don't have plans to make something new, because they'd have to start from scratch and figure out how to make it fit in with the others already there.
You might see that in expansion or something.
Might see it in a subsequent title, because it sounds like this one has enough of a fan base right now. They could probably swing a whole nother game. It wouldn't surprise me to hear that they're working on that already.
Oh yeah, not at all.
Well, I found a game that the 4 of us may have to get together, and there's a very good reason for that. Warner Brothers Interactive is revisiting their classic arcades. They're much older games and giving them new spins. There is a game that they announced, and I'm going to send you guys a video on this, because I can hear the noise coming already. How would you like to play a game where very prominently you will hear the phrase,
"Valkyrie needs food badly"?
Oh my god, Gauntlet.
They are actually making a modern version of it. I sent you guys a link to a YouTube video where they've already apparently come close to completion of it. It is a 2014 edition. It'll come out this year. And, yeah, I want to play this. It is a classic top-down style with new graphics. You can play as the warrior, the wizard, the Valkyrie, and the elf.
I'd play this.
It's been done by Arrowhead Game Studios and the devs behind Magicka. It's going to be on Steam with 4-player co-op support.
Oh, hell yes.
Nice.
Oh, it's visceral, isn't it?
I used to play a Gauntlet clone called Get Medieval, and that was a lot of fun.
They actually came out with a Gauntlet 3D or something like that for the Nintendo 64, and I played the hell out of that game.
I can just see this coming. As soon as this is out, we are going to have some sleepless nights. And then there will be the usual yelling that I have not heard since I was like 12 years old in an arcade. Hey, that's my turkey! This does look like it's going to be a lot of fun, though.
Yeah.
I've been following the development of a game in Japan called J-Star's Victory Versus. It's a game using Shonen Jump characters to fight amongst each other. You know, relatively prominent characters, too, like Luffy from One Piece, Goku from Dragon Ball. I think even Selphie from Durarara, if I remember correctly. Characters from even Sword Art Online are in it. And to celebrate the release of this game, one Japanese company has life-size statues of Goku and Luffy getting ready to throw down with each other.
Nice.
Wow.
It's actually on a raised base. It looks like busted concrete. You know, you got Luffy using some kind of power that creates a gigantic ball out of his arm, and Goku getting ready to laser his head off.
Third gear.
Yeah, like I know what the hell that means. But the statue even includes a small overturned, busted-up car. They really went all out to make it look like somebody's about to go crazy on your head. But the game was released on March 19th, 2014 in Japan on PS3 and PS Vita. It's by Namco Games. So I brought that up only because the statue and the promo, pretty fucking impressive.
Oh, I would like to correct myself. Apparently the one I played on the N64 was Gauntlet Legends.
Oh, okay. Well, now we have a new one to annoy each other with.
Oh, yes.
I did not hear that there's a fan remake of Resident Evil 2. A company called...
Why would it need to be remade?
Well, a company called Invader Games is trying to put an HD gloss on the classic game. You know, they tried to keep the playstyle intact. Think like Halo Anniversary, where they just updated the graphics and kept everything else the same. I'm sending you guys another YouTube link so you can take a look. Then, for an independent company that I don't think is going to be paid on this project, this isn't a lot of work, but they've turned out some really good visuals, actually. If I had one complaint about how it looks, the camera angle on widescreen is a little bit fishbowl.
Yeah.
The point at center seems like it's very far away. The points at the side seem like they're kind of close for some reason.
Yeah, I think
character should be centered.
I think that's mood setting in a way.
It could be. You may be right on that. It was kind of offsetting to watch that because my perception was telling me there's something very wrong.
Leon.
Yeah.
If you could be right, that could have been mood because the way it was keeping me off balance was kind of ratcheting up my own tension just in my own frustration. So she may have a point. But I will leave that behind for now because as we do, we've got several other things going on. How about this? One of the bigger announcements of the week was that everyone knew that Sony was rumored to have a 3D headset, a virtual reality headset. And Sony officially announced Project Morpheus. They have a VR set. It is a 1080p resolution with a 90-degree field of view. So that should cover most of your peripheral vision. It has accelerometer and gyroscopes built into the head mount, as well as the PlayStation camera to track your head orientation and movement. It also has a 3D audio technology that recreates stereoscopic sounds. It works with a DualShock 4 wireless controller and PlayStation Move. The prototype is the product of 3 years of work. The development kits will have the prototype as part of it, and they appear to be enthusiastic about it. But Oculus Rift is not taking this sitting down because they've announced that they're accepting orders for version 2 of their own dev kit to ship in July.
Wow.
So there's still no firm dates on when the consumer version of either of these will be released. If that's not enough, Microsoft is currently rumored to be working on their own HMD headset.
Of course they are.
Project's currently called Fortaleza. So, I guess is this where things are going? Now instead of seeing people locked in their TVs, you got people watching TVs while there's one a-hole on the couch just kind of turning his head left and right.
I have difficulty picturing a world without a PC.
Me too. Maybe it's just that claustrophobic setting. I don't want to shut myself off from the world. I just want to entertain myself in it.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh well.
If you could be aware of the world and have a headset on.
Yeah, really. My wife is very happy with the leaked pictures that came out on Kotaku of the apparent new character for another Assassin's Creed game. Remember last week we discussed that there was that picture that was released? It was kind of grainy, but it showed somebody that may have been an assassin. The black-jacketed character. Well, there's another picture that was released of this character in a game that appears to be in France. My wife took a good close look at this, and when I mean close, I mean she nearly shoved me out of the way to get to it. But there appears to be Notre Dame in the background. So the rumors of this taking place in industrial turn France may be true. There's still no title or any information as to who this character could be. But the game is supposedly called Assassin's Creed Unity. That's about all I got, unfortunately. I can't give any opinions because I neither play the games nor am highly interested.
I haven't played them either.
Well, Well, Gamenesia, they went down to the South by Southwest festival, and while they were messing around, they came across the company building, or I should say, they came across Hyperkin and Chris Galizzi from the company. Now, Hyperkin is the company that builds the Retron systems, the one that allow you to play older gaming titles on small consoles, usually for about $100 a piece. This guy, the reporter, Imad Khan, actually got his hands on the Retron 5, which is not released until early next month. This is a system that should allow you to play Nintendo, Genesis, Super Nintendo, Game Boy Advance, Famicom, Super Famicom, and Mega Drive games all from one console. Not at the same time, obviously. That would be a little strange. But they actually had a prototype out there that they could lay hands on. It's apparently going to be built on an Android operating system, and there have been some delays. This is supposed to be released at Christmas last year. But there were some problems with the chipsets, I guess, overheating, and some of the hardware was melting at the time.
Well, that's no good.
Well, they apparently fixed all these problems, and they've added the fact that this thing is using Bluetooth 2.1, so the controllers may be entirely wireless if you need them to be. And they're still working on game compatibility, because there are some people that, now that technology for the cartridges for Nintendo and Super Nintendo have lapsed out of copyrights, there's people borrowing it and creating original games for these systems. Sometimes the homebrew games don't work well on the Retron, but they may have fixed that issue as well. And they have, in the same article, they placed a rumor, I guess you could say, or a hint, that the copyrights on how the N64 system worked may be lapsing soon as well, and they could be working on that project. So they're not resting on their laurels. They're keeping a close eye on what's no longer being made so they can start making it. That's pretty cool. Does anybody know what Riot Games makes?
Riot Games.
Triumph.
I heard of that.
Riot Games. That's League of Legends.
Really?
Yep.
Okay, because an Australian man is being accused of hacking into their servers.
Woo.
He's also being accused of selling player data for thousands of dollars. There's a 21-year-old named Shane Duffy. He was arrested after a 6-month investigation on suspicion of stealing IPs and then selling them to the competition.
Damn.
Opponents would use the information to launch a DDoS attack on players, keeping them from getting online. In other words, he's just creating a situation where players from one team can keep players from another team from getting online for matches.
They would do that.
Police say they have evidence of 880 payments in the last month alone to Duffy, despite his mother maintaining his innocence.
Yes, of course.
Oh, my mom said I didn't do it, man. My God. Sometimes the fan fervor of League of Legends is cute. Other times it's downright fucking creepy.
It's cute ever.
If you go to conventions, they can be some of the most warm and inviting people because they want to explain to you what they're doing and how this game works.
Fair enough. It just seems like a cult from where I'm standing.
Sometimes it can. I mean, we read that story last week about the pro League of Legends gamer that tried to commit suicide. You weren't here for that, V. It turns out his manager was making them throw matches so he could make money on illegal gambling based on the game.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a serious story. Steve, do you remember the first life sim we ever played, Shenmue, on the Dreamcast?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, the creator of that game, Yu Suzuki, he's reaffirmed an interest in making Shenmue 3 via Kickstarter. But he's not making a commitment, unfortunately.
Oh.
When somebody asked him about the possibility of kickstarting the third game, which has been
Delayed
rumored
for
to happen
forever.
Yeah, it's been rumored to be in the works for what, 10 years now? 11 years? He only said, quote, "Yes, I am researching it," unquote.
That's a tease.
Yeah, are you fucking kidding me? The worst part is, though, he may have actually killed his own game simply because most of the gamers that played it are of our generation and have moved on to so many other things by now.
Yeah.
You know, if he actually released Shenmue 3, it would probably be a failure unless he completely reworked the game. And does he have time to do that on a project he's not actually selling? Man, I as much as I would like to see the third and final one, I think it's time to bury it.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see what he does decide to do.
Yeah. Now, I have a video I have not seen yet, and I'm going to send you the link to this, because it is apparently the first alpha play of Mighty Number 9.
Oh, yeah, I heard about that.
The first actual gameplay. And it has been put out by Concept. It's an official video. There is no BS on that. If you start the video to about the, I guess you could say the, 16-second range, it starts going through the alpha. There's no finished backgrounds, but it does show the character actually running, jumping, shooting, and dealing with a few enemies. If this is an example of the game, which I don't believe I backed. Yeah, I don't believe I backed it. I'm sorry. But if this is an example of the game, I would wholeheartedly purchase this off of whatever network I was playing it on.
Yeah.
Looks very sharp. It's just unfortunate that he doesn't actually deal with more types of enemies. He seems to be dealing with the same one over and over again. But they do have several graphics flashed across the screen of what kind of enemies he will eventually run into, and they're very Japanese-oriented.
Yeah, well, I think these are the other robot master type guys.
You think these are the masters? Some of these look like base enemies to me.
No, because they're all Mighty Number 4, Mighty Number 2, and so forth, and you're Mighty Number 9, so, or something along those lines.
Mighty Number 9 almost seems like it deserves a sea shanty type of theme music, doesn't it? You know, something that drunken sailors will pass amongst each other as they're handing around that bottle of whiskey. Oh, the character can actually wall cling. Well, not wall cling, edge cling.
Mm-hmm.
There's going to be a whole different groups of gameplay around this one. I am more interested now that I've seen that. From there, we will move into the Marvel media news. The news surrounding Fox and the Marvel properties they borrow, the Fantastic Four and the X-Men, just gets more confusing to me. Because we heard two stories last week where one of the actors said that the script is awesome, and then we read another story that was rumored that Fox is so pissed off they're getting ready to dump the director, the script, and the actors. Well, this week, Fox has announced 2017 Wolverine movies and Final Fantasy sequels, and a mystery Marvel movie for 2018.
Well, they're thinking ahead.
Yeah, supposedly Final Fantasy II is scheduled for July 14th, 2017. The Wolverine sequel is scheduled for March 3rd, 2017. And an unknown movie from Fox's borrowed Marvel properties is scheduled for July 13th, 2018. We've already known that the X-Men Apocalypse film is 2016, and there's rumor that an X-Force film is somewhere in the works. They haven't announced an official date for the X-Force movie yet.
Mm-hmm.
So all this is very confusing. You know, if I had my way, you can just bury the Fantastic Four movies right now. I could see them as viable co-stars in another film, but I still can't see them as headlining a movie because the vibe of them is not exactly good for the screen, as far as I can tell. The movie would have to be such a departure from the source material. I don't know if it'd be viable.
Yeah, I'm still not familiar with the Fantastic Four, other
Science
than
family.
They were described. The best way to describe them wouldn't necessarily be superheroes. The best way I've heard to describe them would be adventurers. You know, like Jesse said, they'd be a small family of more Indiana Jones type personalities, maybe a little more scientifically bent. But they're not superheroes in the classic sense because they're not doing things for the good of humanity. They're doing things half the time because they just kind of get stuck in shit that's above what normal people can handle.
yeah, that makes. Well, I mean, once you have powers of any kind, it's sort of.
Yeah, but the description I just gave also sounds like it could have been the synopsis for the first Die Hard movie. Normal guy stuck in unusual shit.
Maybe they should dress it up more like an Indiana Jones then.
News about Avengers Age of Ultron is starting to come out more and more now that the movie is, about 14 months away from its release. Scarlett Johansson actually spoke about the movie while somebody was interviewing her regarding the Winter Soldier. She said, quote, "I was just amazed. Joss is something else. He really is. He locked himself away for God knows how long. I think he has dark circles to prove it. He just came out with something totally solid. I was really impressed by his ability to make this ever-expanding Marvel Universe feel very close-knit and cerebral and progressive. I mean, this movie feels like the continuation of the Avengers. It doesn't feel like a tag-on or the rehashed version or let's just throw a bunch of new characters in there and keep the thing alive. It really feels like the next step. And all of our characters, our relationships with one another continue to progress, become more intertwined, more complicated, more meshed. And the film has a lot of great comic book moments that fans are going to love. But it also got a lot of really great dramatic moments that audience members, I think, will really relate to, unquote.
Huh, that's a glowing review.
Yeah. Well, Anthony Mackie's wasn't as glowing because he says, quote, somebody asked him if he was going to be in Avengers Age of Ultron. He says, quote, I wish. Everybody says it, but Kevin Feige. Chris is a good friend of mine. The movie starts in 3 weeks. I know he's read the script. He's like, yo, man, I read the Avengers script. It's good. I was like, really? He said, yeah. Joss Whedon is doing rewrites, but it's good. I was like, great, so am I in it? And he says, I gotta go, I'll be back.
Oh.
What do you mean? Why can't you just tell me if I'm in the movie? No one will tell me, not one person, so I gave up on it, unquote.
How do you not know if...
Well, I mean, if no one's asking you to do anything, odds are you're not in it.
Yeah, I'm that's why I'm like, how do you not know? If you're not asked, I would assume that means no.
Yeah. Feige himself has denied rumors because several outlets are saying that the way to fit the Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch in this movie would be to make them Inhumans. He told Slash Film, quote, only journalists today have been telling me that's popping up online. That's absolutely not the case, unquote.
Nice.
Oh, that's one rumor completely debunked. Now, Ultron in Age of Ultron, he's been told to have an extreme personality. Kevin Feige got into it, and he said, quote, introducing the new characters is going to be a lot of fun for the movie. That ever-changing roster is very important in the Avengers comics, so how do we start to play with that on the big screen? Also, our bad guy is great. I think we're going to be very, very excited to see what we're doing with the voice that Joss Whedon is bringing to life with James Spader for Ultron. We love Ultron from the comics. We've always loved Ultron, and at no point do we want him to be just a robot. We want him to have an extreme personality and attitude, and James Spader is doing an unbelievable job. For us, it's always about subverting expectations. Whenever you think you know what's coming next, we surprise people or deliver it in a slightly unexpected way. And Spader is doing that with Mr. Ultron. Unquote. Yeah, I've been watching Spader in The Blacklist, and I could really see this doing well.
Yeah.
I wish I could expand on that, but unfortunately, a lot of that is very self-explanatory. Did you guys watch the special that was on the 18th regarding the Marvel Movieverse? It was in place of the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.'s usual spot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
There were a couple stills that were put online that I'll add to the report, specifically regarding concept art for Age of Ultron.
Mm-hmm.
One of those involved the Hulk tangling with Tony Stark's Hulkbuster armor.
Yep.
Yeah.
Which I'm sure had a lot of fans getting giddy and a lot of people who don't read comics going, the fuck is that thing?
It's going to be a pile of scrap metal in a few minutes.
But the other thing was a curious concept art that apparently is Quicksilver and the Scarlet Witch.
Right.
You know, I don't think they actively named the characters, but one woman shows up in a red jacket. The other one is a guy that's obviously moving at high speed in this... I don't know what that is. That's kind of off-blue outfit. So we're guessing that's what that is. And if those are the concepts, are pretty cool. We'll have to see, though. I know it sounds trite, but you can never take these things at face value, especially since concept art could end up very different on the screen.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Correct me if I'm wrong. Did anybody else notice the fact that they seem to also be teasing Ant-Man?
Oh, they didn't tease it. They showed the test footage that I told you about that debuted at Comic-Con, I think, last year.
Okay. Well, one of them looked like more of a still, so I wasn't quite sure.
Yeah, they put together a director put together a small reel. He was hoping to get in on the movies by showing what kind of action he could have Ant-Man doing.
Ah, okay.
So those were excerpts from that footage. I mean, there was a lot of additional photos of the Guardians of the Galaxy that came out, but,
yeah,
you know, that's still hard to tell until you see extended scenes. In further Marvel media news, Mark Webb, who's directed, I think, the Spider-Man and Spider-Man 2, he has said that the scheduled Amazing Spider-Man 4, due out May 4th, 2018, he's not on it. He did say he's directing the third film due out in 2016, but he'd like to be involved as a consultant beyond that. I don't know if you could say it's burnout, or maybe he just knows when to quit. You know what I mean? Yeah, I'm not sure what else to say in that regard, because he's obviously removing himself from it. It may be a good idea, because if you get stuck in these things too long, it starts to grate on people's nerves. Odds are the director is the first one to get fingers pointed at him.
Yeah.
Maybe he just knows a good time to step away. And the final Amazing Spider-Man 2 trailer is out, and it had a better look at the Rhino armor in it, as well as the Goblin, so we'll add links to that. Newsarama also had a gallery of new pictures from the Winter Soldier. We actually saw Emily Van Camp as Agent 13, Kobe Summers as Maria Hill, and a couple of pictures of Georgia St. Pierre as Batroc the Leaper. That is not a name you can say out loud and have it sound intimidating. Batroc the Leaper!
Yeah. I've never heard that before. I giggled a little.
Well,
inside.
He dresses in a lot of pink, and he's very French.
It's a he?
It's a he!
Yeah. Oh, wow.
Last bit of Marvel Media news I have is that Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. did have a new announcement. They're adding a character known as Eric Koenig, who's been in the comics before. He's a throwback to Sergeant Fury and the Howling Commandos. He's being played by Patton Oswalt.
Isn't that a comedian?
Yeah, he is. He's a dumpy, kind of heavy-set comedian. He says, quote, "I got a call from my agent saying they want you on Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., and I said, hell yes! I'm lucky that I'm visible enough that they wanted to bring me in to play this character. I worked with Joss Whedon before on Dollhouse, and I guess I wasn't too annoying, and they decided to put me on another one of his shows, so I was very lucky."
Joss Whedon's very good to people he's hired before.
Yeah. He actually went on, quote, "When they first told me the character's name, I'll admit, the first thing I did was I went on Wikipedia and looked up the MODOK character to see if Koenig was maybe his name before he became MODOK, but it wasn't. They keep on talking about the clairvoyant in the show, and I'm like, is that MODOK? Am I MODOK? Unquote.
I love it when fans get to play things they're fans of.
Yeah, I admit, the clairvoyant, I've been thinking that's got to be MODOK.
Yeah, I was
That's
thinking
what
that too.
other people have been saying that too, but I don't remember him with clairvoyant powers.
Who's MODOK?
MODOK is the mental organism designed only for killing. AIM did experiments on one person and created this giant baby-headed thing that has psychokinetic abilities, both telepathic, telekinetic, and a bunch of cyborg accoutrements, so he fires lasers too.
Also, just because someone is called the clairvoyant doesn't mean they themselves have the power, or that the power is as it seems.
Well, that's true. Although, I suppose, given some of the comments that they've made, it could be a severe form of telepathy, but...
Well, not just telepathy. If you remember, MODOK also has genius-level IQ because of his enhancement, so maybe he's just predicting everything.
Yeah.
That could be.
It's all possibilities at this point. We won't know till we see it.
True.
I just finally got caught up in the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to Deathlock. Looks like they're finally headed towards a confrontation, but of course the series is on a break until April.
Mm-hmm.
In DC media news, we got the first look at Donald Logue as Harvey Bullock in Gotham. He does look like a grizzled detective, but I don't know. I'm not quite sure where this series is going with its vibe, because we also got pictures of what's her name, Selena Kyle. Who was she played by? Carmen Bykandova. And there's also a gallery of pictures on Newsarama from the set that shows the kid playing Bruce Wayne too. Carmen Bykandova, I think she may look better in video than she does in stills, because in stills, her eyes look very far apart.
She looks a little odd.
Yeah, it's...
I've seen that before.
I mean, I sent the link in case you guys have missed it. It shows a picture of her in her Selena Kyle gear. Maybe it's the photo, but the photo makes her head look huge. And her eyes look like they're very far apart compared to a lot of people.
I think she kind of looks pretty, but weird looking.
Yeah, it almost looks like she just missed the Down syndrome activating in her genes, frankly. I know that's going to sound like a dig, but I mean that's just what I see.
Yeah. She looks like she's part deer to me.
You think she's a fawn?
Yeah.
actually all I have in DC Media News. It was all Gotham Pictures. There wasn't a whole lot of actual information about the series yet. So we'll move on to general media news. There's a new Transformers cartoon coming in 2015.
Yep.
Really?
Yeah, the Hub Network announced an unnamed Transformers animated series is coming. It's supposed to be the sequel to Transformers Prime. And it may also link in with the IDW comics that have been coming out as of late. But this one doesn't have Optimus Prime in it. It's a new squad of Autobots being led by Bumblebee, apparently.
Yeah, they actually killed off Optimus Prime in the movie.
Well, they're Will Friedle, who in the last couple episodes of Prime played Bumblebee's actual voice. He's going to continue as a role. He's also been Terry McGinnis in Batman Beyond, Deadpool, Lion-O, Blue Beetle, and a few others.
Yep.
So, it's some kind of continuation. News that just kind of threw everybody off. During a stockholders conference call, Disney announced that not only were they working on Star Wars Episode 7, they announced that they're working on sequels titled Cars 3 and Incredibles 2.
Oh,
Incredibles 2.
finally!
I'm down with that.
I thought I heard about The Incredibles 2 a while back, or am I hallucinating?
They said that they planned to make it, but they've never announced when or if they were working on it.
Well, regarding The Incredibles 2, they said it's already in development, and the director of the first one, Brad Bird, is writing the script as they spoke. Not only that, the original Incredibles, which came out in 2004, is getting a re-release in 3D.
Nice.
Now, regarding Star Wars Episode 7, the new details on that was that it was confirmed that the movie is going to take place 30 years after Return of the Jedi. The movie will feature a new trio of characters alongside, quote, very familiar faces, unquote. Probably referencing the people we've been talking about that was originally supposed to star in this movie in their, 60s and 70s?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The only confirmed character for the entire movie of Star Wars Episode 7 is R2-D2.
Hooray! My favorite character.
The only other news they had during this conference call that apparently was of note was the fact that Frozen passed $1 billion in global box office and is poised to overtake Toy Story 3 as the top-grossing animated film in their library.
Man, I really need to see that.
I just bought it.
I just bought it for my kids, and unfortunately I've seen one scene 4 times, but because I'm a busy dad, I've not seen the movie yet, and I'm starting to get fucking frustrated.
I bet.
Speaking of Disney movies, they finally released a full trailer for Angelina Jolie as Maleficent.
Mm-hmm.
It's a trippy trailer. It's very dark.
Of course it is.
During sections of the trailer, you can actually hear Jolie's voice singing that the theme from Cinderella. The theme. Okay.
Well. The theme from Cinderella?
Yes, from the original Disney animated film, and it's very slow and creepy and hollow.
I like it already, and you're just describing it.
From Cinderella, even though she's from Sleeping Beauty.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, thank you.
Okay,
Sleeping
that had me
Beauty.
confused for a minute. I was like, wait, are they doing some kind of crossover?
I said Cinderella.
No, he said Cinderella as well.
Okay.
Are you keeping score or something?
I was sitting here trying to figure out in my head, like, where does she come in that?
Well, I watched the trailer. I'm not sold on it personally because Jolie's taken a turn. She's gotten very skinny, and it's not a matter of turn-off. It's a matter that she just doesn't look right to me anymore. You know, it's starting to approach that level where Madonna no longer looks human.
Well, she was in costume, though, right?
Yes, she was.
Okay.
It could have just been a bad makeup job that's turning me out or something, but there was...
Or they might deliberately making her look a certain way.
I've seen pictures of her on the red carpet. She doesn't look healthy these days. I know she
What?
went through that cancer thing, but she got that
She had
exercise.
cancer?
Yeah, she had a double mastectomy.
Holy
That
crap.
was not because she had cancer. That was because her mom died of it, and she had a very high possibility.
Really? I heard that she had a diagnosis, but they managed to treat very early.
I don't know. I seem to remember reading it was preemptive.
I remember being irritated at the whole story because everyone said that she was such a hero for getting that done. And in my case, I'm sitting there going, wait, if any of us had the money to do that, we'd probably do it. What makes her a hero for being rich?
No, they usually will go ahead and pay for something like that, insurance-wise.
Yeah.
It was just my reaction, There were so many outlets that said she's such a hero for doing this. It's so awesome, So few people would do that. It's like, well, lots of people would do that if they had the money.
The reason why she was considered a hero for doing it is, one, she announced the fact that she did it, and two, I can't imagine it would be an easy decision to say, I'm at such a high risk and everything else that I'm just going to go ahead and remove parts of my body, just in case that I'm here.
Yeah, it's kind of a big deal.
I don't know. If I found out my testicles were going to kill me, they got to go.
Well, it's just... There seems to be a lot of instinct and hormones surrounding one's lady parts. I don't know how else to
I've gotten a
phrase
whiff of that
but...
rather frequently.
Yeah, that's not to say that there isn't a lot of hormones involved in, that dangling bit, for us guys either.
Right,
but
it's
why are we talking about this like a kindergarten preschool ground or something?
I don't know. It just sounded
I think we're
weird
trying to be polite.
Yeah, or something. But anyway,
I don't know. It sounded weird
I
to
could
say
see other
uterus.
people's points as to why they were impressed with
we
it.
can just say this.
Yeah, I guess it's a private thing, and talking about it. I don't know. I kind of get the feeling that she just talks about whatever she feels like talking about and doesn't really pay attention to the hype.
Yeah, she hasn't spoken about her collection of kids lately.
No, that's pretty much an ongoing conversation.
That might be why she's thin, having to be busy keeping.
Yeah, I don't know. Her article in EW for the Maleficent movie, she was talking about her kids in that.
I mean, it's good that she's talking about her kids, because that means she's not, ignoring them or whatever.
No, I'm sure the nanny's got them. Let's see. Are you guys familiar with the series Powers?
Nope.
Powers.
It's a comic book series that was it's a comic book series about a couple of normal detectives who have a special branch, or in a special branch of the police dealing with superpowered problems. And it appears that Powers is actually getting a TV series.
Huh.
Not only that, it's a new live-action drama that's going to be an hour long, being distributed on the PlayStation Network.
That's interesting.
So, in a world of superheroes and villains, covering the crimes of these quote-unquote powers falls to the characters of Christian Walker and Dina Pilgrim. And Walker used to be a superhero herself, so now they're both... It's kind of like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. as a police procedural, it sounds like.
Cool.
But-
I like that idea.
But the series was originally written by Brian Michael Bendis, the guy who transformed the Avengers and is currently working on X-Men comics. It already has an order for 10 episodes.
Interesting.
So this is coming soon. George R.R. Martin threw a grenade into the room of Game of Thrones nerds. He says that a Game of Thrones film is being actively discussed.
He got in trouble for saying that.
He didn't get in trouble, he just threw a grenade in. When I say grenade, that means that a bunch of guys just went, oh my god, 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 and dead.
Everyone had heart attacks.
He says, quote, it all depends on how long the main series runs. Do we run for 7 years? Do we run for 8? Do we run for 10? The books get bigger and bigger in scope. It might need a feature to tie things up. Something with a feature budget, like $100 million for 2 hours.
Yeah.
Those dragons get real big, unquote.
Yeah,
they're going to have to recast
I'm currently
the kids
taking
at some
bets on
point.
whether or not he dies before he finishes the series.
Everybody's taking bets on whether that round mother is going to die before he finishes the series. And he better not, because I'm enjoying it, goddammit.
Yeah. He's not allowed to die. Too many people will be upset with him.
He just needs to get to work on the books. That's all I'm saying.
He's working on the books, is what he says. I don't begrudge
Of
him
course.
time away doing other stuff, because as a novice writer, I've noticed that it's a lot easier to get inspiration if you're doing other things and writing backstory.
Well, he also said that Under Discussion is a big screen movie based on his Dunk and Egg stories, which take place years before the main series do, and involve people who are related to the Game of Thrones characters in ways that he won't specify. Quote, I've written these 3 stories, and I have about a dozen more, unquote. So maybe that's why he hasn't put out his main books yet. He's been working on so many other aspects of this damn series.
But
It's
that's
possible.
kind of that's kind of a necessary aspect of doing such a large epic. I mean, he'd have to write those stories anyways, just for backstory, so...
Yeah, it's true. Well, that's movie news that I could say has more general pop appeal based on the success of the TV series. How would you like to talk about a movie that hasn't had pop appeal since Scooby-Doo was new?
The hell?
You guys remember 80s cartoons and how bad they were?
Not really.
Yes.
Okay, well, the director of G.I. Joe 2, John Chu, he says that he's currently working on a movie based on Jem and the Holograms.
No, not gonna watch it.
According to the Hollywood Reporter, Jem is being reimagined for, quote, a whole new generation with themes of being true to who you are in a multitasking, hyperlinked social media age. Ryan Landals wrote the script, which, per their producer, centers on an orphaned teenage girl who becomes an online recording sensation. She and her sisters embark on a music-driven scavenger hunt, one that sends them on an adventure across Los Angeles in an attempt to unlock a final message left by her father. Sounds like they just described Legend of fucking Zelda in L.A.
Nope. Not gonna no.
If it doesn't have holograms, then it's not truly,
The article actually argues if it doesn't have the misfits, it's not truly a Jem and the Holograms.
I don't even know what Jem and the Holograms is.
Oh my god. I blame it on my sister.
Take it, boys. Tell her.
No. Oh, hell no.
Oh, tell her.
No. She can easily look it up on YouTube, I'm sure it's there.
Yeah.
I'll do that.
Jem was a cartoon about a singer who had a virtual, an AI computer that created a hologram around her to create an alter ego as a singer. She didn't use makeup or anything, low tech like that. She actually had a personal hologram emitter to disguise herself on stage for reasons I don't fucking understand. She brought her best friends and her little sisters along as a band, and what were her enemies were three glam-based, big-haired, funny-colored, quasi-punk singers called the Misfits.
Oh my.
This whole thing sounds like a fucking nightmare come true.
Even had a time traveling episode.
Yeah, this one came very close to landing in What the Fuck News, but unfortunately too many people know what that is.
Yeah, my only exposure to Jem is from a Freeze Pop song, so...
That's fine. You can keep that. It's been announced that Ghostbusters 3 is set for filming to begin in 2015.
I forgot they were making that.
Well, the news kind of popped back up after Harold Ramis's untimely death not too long ago. The project was... After that, it was kind of thrown in as something they have to finish, and I don't know why they have to. Ramis, I think, was originally going to direct it. I don't think he was going to star in it. And I don't think Bill Murray had any interest in being in it. They might actually work him in for a cameo now that the bad blood between him and Ramis is finally buried. And I don't mean that as a pun, I swear to God. But they're pushing forward on a script with Ethan Coen, and they have a draft that they seem to feel is very good. So Ivan Reitman apparently is also working on it. Reitman moved up into a producer's role now that Ramis has died. So it sounds like Murray and Aykroyd are now on board with this thing for at least cameo appearances.
That's good. Probably wouldn't be a Ghostbusters film without Bill Murray.
I don't think it could be. The Walking Dead creator, Robert Kirkman, has talked about the finale for Season 4 of their series, which happens in literally 1 week from today, and he called it, quote, savage. He said it's going to end on a huge cliffhanger, which will probably make it the hardest wait between Season 4 and 5 ever. Enjoy!
Bam.
Is that literally what he said?
That's literally what he said. Quote, honestly, people are going to be talking about this one. The cliffhanger at the end of Season 4 will make the wait between Seasons 4 and 5 the hardest wait we've ever had. Enjoy! Unquote.
This man gets off on sadism.
It does seem like when he said that to the reporter, I could see him just flashing the middle finger before turning around and walking away like he dropped the microphone. And last bit of general media news I have, V, you have to go to Michigan, I believe.
Wait, why?
The Mall of America is having a Star Trek attraction put in.
That's in Minnesota, and oh my god, yes.
It's joining exhibits on Barbie and the TV show CSI in the mall's 3rd floor. Officials at Bloomington Mega Mall said that the Star Trek exhibit was coming, but they were still working on details. What What the hell happened?
I think you broke her.
Sounds more like I put something in her.
I want Star Trek stuff. Brain broke.
Well, did you see that Anovos is now selling recreations of the Next Generation tunics?
Yes, I did, in fact.
I think they're $230.
Mm-hmm.
It is high quality stuff, though.
Yeah, I also saw that they were selling the red dress from number 6 from Battlestar Galactica.
Really?
Yes, and that might be my next.
I was about to say, are you going to put it on?
I might buy that, yes.
Okay, can I see the dressing room as you put it on?
No.
Damn it! She's going to break my neck. In Marvel comic news, remember we talked a few weeks ago about how Jim Starlin is returning with... he's coming back, and I think to work with Ron Lim on the Thanos Annual. I'm sorry, the Thanos Annual. Some kind of continuation of Thanos' story in the Marvel Universe that's going to guest star the Guardians of the Galaxy. Well, it's supposed to be a prequel to Thanos: The Infinity Revelation, and it's been revealed that he's going to be up against Mephisto, Marvel's version of the Devil.
That's fun.
That's going to make that messy. The Mad Titan versus the Devil. That's going to be fucking ugly.
And I predict controversy.
Oh, probably. And we've also been discussing how Original Sin has had several odd teasers to it, including the idea that a lot of these teasers involve single pictures of characters in different forms, and it says everybody has one. There was a couple odd ones that seem to involve Power Man's father and Blade from the 70s, some kind of time travel thing. There's one that has Doctor Strange erasing Captain America's mind before they escorted him off of the Illuminati and the New Avengers. There's even one that has a picture of the Wilson family with X's over the parents and an odd red mask drawn over the child.
Interesting.
Deadpool's family. Not only that, it's been announced that Deadpool's complete origin, which has never been told before, will come out in Original Sin. They promised to actually unveil these secrets that have never been told before, a la Wolverine. Ever since his debut, way back in New Mutants 98, they've never told his actual origin story.
Well, really?
Yeah. New Mutants 98 came out when I was a kid, too. I have it. Which now means people are trying to track my IP so they can figure out where I fucking live. Fortunately for me, I don't carry it in the house. It's off-site.
At a secret location.
Well, do you guys remember in our discussions about Guardians of the Galaxy, I talked about the two creators who had kind of worked on the comic book renaissance of those characters, Abnett and Lanning?
Sort of.
Okay, I just want to make sure everybody was in the fucking room, because V's the only one that said anything for the last 5 minutes. Well, they're getting back together to create a prequel comic for the Guardians of the Galaxy movie. And it's going to focus on Nebula, the one being played by Kieran Gillen. It's going to uncover the bond she has with Thanos in a second story featuring the oddball duo of Rocket Raccoon and Groot. This one is coming out actually on April 2nd, so it's coming very soon. I took a look at a few promo pages, and the art in it is very striking. It has Nebula in some kind of odd flight suit approaching these weird floating pyramids. So this team has not lost their snap when it comes to art and writing. Last bit of Marvel comic news I have is something that I'm going to need your guys' help with. Because it's not something I can easily identify. Let me see. Shoot. Sorry, I'm trying to get the URL for this real quick, because I want you guys to see this, and I want you to help me out with this. Okay, now, The Amazing Spider-Man, Peter Parker is returning, and there's a new Spider-Man teaser called Every Single One. All you can see in it is Spider-Man in the center and a whole bunch of silhouetted pictures that are being covered up by webs.
I have no idea. I think I see a ninja.
The early theory in all this is that this picture, this panoramic picture, is going to encompass every single costume Spider-Man has ever worn in his history, as well as the alternate dimension versions. That's the current going theory.
I don't know.
certainly
It looks like one of them
him.
has a tail.
Yeah.
There's several that had mutations of different varieties. You know, there's also the infamous six-armed Spider-Man. There's a couple that have had extra mechanical limbs on the back. There's one that had octopus arms, frankly. The one on the far left, I think, is Spider-Man 2099 with that ripped web cape he has.
Yep.
There's even one that appears to be flying, but a lot of people forget that for a while Spider-Man had the Unipower, the Captain Universe powers. So the theory sounds to be on. It's just a curiosity. If it's every single one, that makes me wonder if the clones will be involved too.
Oh boy.
So it's an interesting one. There's already several people on online forums that are guessing as to which are which.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a decent theory, but I don't have a better one.
I'm wondering if they even have his daughter in there, because one of them looks slightly female to me.
There could actually be two different versions of her, because the Earth X version was May Parker as Venom.
Hmm.
Although technically she can't be his daughter anymore since he was never married.
That's not necessarily true.
We'll get into that. I'm sure that's going to come up. I only have one piece of DC comic news, and that's that they've announced that they're going to do something new called Star Spangled War Stories. It's their third attempt at some kind of army and military-based comic book since in recent memory, including G.I. Zombie and a couple others, but none has stuck yet, and I still don't know why they're producing this right now. Also announced was a special one-shot being done by Amanda Connor and her husband Jimmy Palmiotti called Harley Quinn Invades San Diego Comic-Con, due out in July. It actually appears to be a comic book about Harley Quinn walking around San Diego Comic-Con.
That's unique.
Yeah.
She will blend in quite well.
Well, did you say blend in or bled in?
Blend.
Because either one could be fucking true in this story. I had to ask. From there we have general comic book news, which is where we put in news that doesn't fit under the banners of DC and Marvel. There was one here that actually was an interesting story. There's a teen with Down syndrome. He was very interested in comic books. Is a 19-year-old named Chris Romberger. He has autism as well, and he's not only doing well at his job at Villanova University Student Cafeteria, he started his own business. What he noticed was that he went to a comic book store, and he always enjoyed going there, but he wanted to come up with an alternative for people who didn't have a lot of time on their hands and couldn't often get to comic book shops to pick up their favorite issues. So what he did was he put together some money and a little bit of help with a friend from engineering. He's built a comic book vending machine.
Nice.
It's running under the banner of Comic Man Comics and Books. It's been in operation for a few weeks, and he's already sold several issues. He's actually working on getting additional vending machines and putting them up in different locations. He has his own comic book business. It's an interesting idea as a vending machine.
I don't know why. I kind of figured that that's something that would have been invented before now.
Well, when it comes to collectors, you would have to bag and board that, because you wouldn't want this thing just spiraling out machines and dropping them to the floor. Some people would get upset over that. But it is a very good idea, I think. And congratulations to him with coming up with a simple new model on how to produce things. There's a picture of the machine he used. It's one of those old-fashioned spiral machines, but he doesn't just have comics in it. He's smart enough to have candy bars in it, too. So he put a lot of thought into this. There's a new comic book coming out that sounds like something I may read. It's being done by writer and artist Wook Jing Clark, and it's called Mega Go-Go. It's a series that involves such aspects as old-school anime, giant monsters, Super Sentais, giant robots, and the whole thing is being written out of the background of the southern states, specifically Kentucky. I'm sorry, no, Georgia. In modern-day Atlanta, giant robots and space aliens are running wild, and he explores this world where battles between the two forces are now daily parts of life. This, unfortunately, is right up my alley. Oh, come on, old-school giant robot and monster battles?
Yes.
Even the artist himself said that he loves Astro Boy, and the main character is somewhat of an homage to him. So, yeah, this is so me. I told you guys I'm going to WonderCon. I bought my badge last week. I bought a 3-day badge.
Mm-hmm.
Turns out I did that at the right time. Because I bought it last weekend, which would be, the 15th? Well, as of March 21st, not only are 3-day badges sold out, Saturday badges are sold out too.
Wow.
And they also added another hotel because their rooming blocks were, I guess, overfilled. They've added a room block at the Annabella Hotel for $119 a night. It's not a bad price. It just kind of surprised me that as soon as they said, badges are running short, I'm like, okay, I better get my badge. There's my badge. Okay, 3-day badges are gone. Holy shit. It's like somebody slammed the door behind me. That's it, get out.
Well, at least you got in.
Yeah, they still have Friday badges and Sunday badges, but Saturday and 3-day, all gone. Good luck, people. And the last bit of general comic news I have is based on San Diego Comic-Con. Now, the series of Black Sails on Starz just hit its season finale last weekend. They debuted footage at last year's Comic-Con in July. This year, it's been announced on Pirate Radio podcast that the Marked Men Party is going to hold a party on the deck of the HMS Surprise, which was used in Pirates of the Caribbean and Master and Commander. It's currently moored out at the San Diego Maritime Museum, and on Friday night, they're hosting a party that's not only pirate-themed, but the cast of Black Sails will be there.
Nice.
I'm trying to see what it would take to get into that, because that sounds like a unique party. That's something I would like to step into for a few hours.
I just watched the first episode not too long ago, and it looks pretty intriguing.
I watched the whole season, and I liked how it ended. It's a hell of a cliffhanger, but I liked how it ended. I can't say any more than that, because if I start talking characters, she's going to start screaming at me about spoilers and shit, and I can't do that noise.
Or else I'll just make the na-na-na-na-na noise.
There's that. Well, then I'll just start singing the Batman theme song if you do that. We'll move on to Japan and anime news. There's a new website called R18.com. Steve, Jesse, you guys read manga and stuff. Do you guys know why that's significant?
No.
Okay, R18 is their version of rated R.
Right.
Certain age are supposed to read it. Well, R18.com is giving overseas access to 2,200 JAVs. Not 2,200, I'm sorry. 220,000 JAVs.
Good lord.
V, I know, is scratching her head. JAVs are Japanese porn.
Adult videos.
Yeah. Japan's top mega site has fully announced R18.com to launch in the spring with their entire catalog of adult videos, ero, manga, and doujin. They're finally producing a centralized, quote, legal avenue for barbarian access to the nation's squealing schoolgirl rape porn.
I have no words.
That entire sentence is just hilarious.
That's not their official press release, as you can imagine.
Okay.
Press is, quote, the new website will have a large collection of Japanese adult videos online, which will be easily accessible through a streamlined marketplace and a feature-rich search engine. Yeah, that's what I'm looking for. Their current catalog of Japanese movies comprising over 220,000 videos will be published to the R18.com service. The site will launch with approximately 150,000 videos and will be expanded to 200,000 videos within 3 months. In addition to hundreds of categories of movies and 5,000 hentai comics will be available for release, along with an exclusive section of fully localized hentai comics, unquote. Now, their official blog apparently was a little more robust in its description. Quote, when it launches, R18.com will be the largest English-language Japanese adult site on the net. How big? First, you have to consider the Japanese adult industry at large. It's hard to wrap my head around the concept of how much Japanese porn is available at any minute of any day, and even harder to try to explain it to someone else. I imagine it would be like trying to count the number of TV shows that have ever been released in the U.S. since the 1950s. Would you include a list by channel? Type? Length? Season? Once you start factoring all those things in, it gets pretty crazy. By my last count, we had 796 different production companies that will sell their products through R18.com. Of that number, 72 of those companies are our own productions. These aren't your small production companies. They are the largest producers of Japanese AV. Big names such as E-Body, S1, Moody's, Madonna, Attackers, Kira Kira, Muteki, B, Kawaii, Idea Project, and the list goes on and on. This allows our site to have an unprecedented amount of new movies and content added every month, unmatched by anywhere else. That's a lot of fur. We add over 2,000 new movies to our site every month. 2,000! If I quit my job and did nothing but sleep and watch porn, I would still not be able to watch all those in a year. Not only do we release a lot of new content every month, but these are not short 5-minute clips uploaded to your average tube site. We're talking feature-length adult films, 120 minutes or more. In fact, most of the movies I come across are a ridiculous 3 to 6 hours long, unquote. It's nice to know this man is such an aficionado.
Yeah.
Okay. You know, my book must be at least 2 hours long, otherwise I'll never get into the story. So, now there's a new site coming out that will have all the Japanese porn you can handle. Whether it has
honestly, I think the porn would do even better if there was a little more story to it, because then more women would be into it.
I guess my question would be, if it's all going to be in English, does that mean you're going to have like bad 70s style dubbing? Nothing syncs up with the voices. Oh well. Japan is also being blamed for a drop in global music sales.
What? How? Why?
Apparently, music sales in Japan have dropped 16.7% just in that country, causing the world market to shrink 3.9%. Now, they say over the same period, music sales in Europe, despite the new digital music craze, have actually increased 3.4%. If Japan is excluded from those figures, sales only increased by 0.1%. It's very odd how all these statistics are supposed to work. But apparently Japan and South Korea are the only countries in 2013 that had top 10 album charts dominated by local artists. Most other countries had international artists or artists from other countries in their top 10. It may also have to do with the fact that Japan has resisted the transition from the album form of music sales over to digital and single. They're actually pushing against the idea of selling that. They've only recently started to move into that as a general model. If you remember, we've discussed how a lot of their music selling involves buying a CD and then within it is a ticket to a handshaking event where you can meet people. Which it turns out creepy people would sometimes masturbate and leave their fluids on their hands to shake hands with their friends.
That's just disgusting.
It is, but unfortunately that seems to be how they kind of boosted their sales, is that several people would buy like 10 of these things just to shake hands with different idols, unfortunately. And, I'm sorry, I understand your appreciation for somebody who made the music, but at the same time, that doesn't mean they want to get that personal with you. That's just reality. Maybe you should actually try growing a personality. One that does masturbation, anyway.
I hear personalities only require a little water.
Well, masturbation only requires a little oil.
I don't know. I think the sunlight is a little more important in the growing of personalities.
Oh.
That's true.
Yeah, we've discussed Japanese nerds don't often get sunlight. How's this for effed up? You know how Japanese game execs often say some very odd things?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Okay. Final Fantasy XIV has struggled a bit. And, that's no secret. It was remade, and it's doing much better. It may still be having some trouble. Square Enix explained why they think Final Fantasy XIV had such a disaster, and they rescued it with A Realm Reborn. They have the revelation that they said the game's flower pots in A Realm Reborn now have as many polygons as its player characters.
No.
That's according to them. According to them, the reason why the game didn't do too well was because they just didn't have enough detail in their general items that you find in cities.
That doesn't seem correct.
No.
They even had all these slides about what came before and how they've updated everything. It actually has a picture that says that the flower pot had around 1,000 polygons and used 150 lines of codes. In other words, the same as a single-player character. The fuck does this matter?
Congratulations, you're lagging the world.
I think they're just making fun of us. They're trying to see if we'll buy this shit. Last bit of Japan and anime news I have is that a new spin-off anime has been announced. Welcome to the new Pokemon Mega Evolution 1. It's a new series with apparently new characters and how Pokemons can mega evolve. You can just thunder strike me now. I don't give a shit.
Yep.
You know,
Done.
if you're a fan, you're a fan. Enjoy your fandom, but for fuck's sake, too much, too damn much. You know the series is dying when you say, okay, so what can we do to get people back? I know. Let's bring back their favorite Pokemon and make them fucking bigger.
Bigger is better, right?
Yeah, you haven't just jumped the shark. That thing had laser beams on its freaking head and it shot you. From there, we'll move into general nerd interest news, which is where we talk about, I wouldn't just say scientific innovation, but just those general pieces of news and information that just kind of blow your mind a little bit. First off, you know how prison can be kind of a drag for people that's in it? Well, there's new technology that could make people serve in a 1,000-year sentence in 8 hours. And no, it's not. It's not cryogenesis. It's nothing like that. Biotechnology could actually slow down the mind's perception of time, so that an 8-hour term in prison could feel like you've just spent 1,000 years there.
Sounds like the slow-mo drug they had in Judge Dredd.
Sort of, yeah. It's a number of psychoactive drugs that distorts their perception of time. So they're working on developing a pill or liquid that can make someone feel like they're serving 1,000 years in prison. I guess my question is, it sounds all well and good. You could definitely stop prison overcrowding, but at the same time, what kind of psychotics would you get by people who just said they spent 1,000 years in prison?
Yeah.
I mean, there's
Not only that, I mean, when they come out,
there's a movie on that.
Not only that, when they come out, it's just like, where's my flying cars?
Well, I assume they would know that they're being
maybe
tricked.
I just see positives and negatives to all this. You know, and not all of it is good. I'm sorry, give me a sec. I've got an annoying ad that won't shut the fuck up.
Oh, I hate that.
There we go. I got it. So, yeah, I don't see that as being terribly good. That would require more research and possibly psychological counseling.
Yeah.
How would you guys like a carpet that represents a space-time continuum?
Yes.
I'm curious.
Now, well, the space-time continuum is said to have these eddies and curves. It's not a straight grid like it's often portrayed. What I will do is, if I can get this thing to work properly, there we go. Check out this carpet that was in a bookstore. It unfortunately has been removed because several people were complaining about it, but because of the way the lines are in it are curved, it actually looks like the carpet has divots in it.
Oh, I've seen this.
It is.
Oh, that's cool.
It's one flat, continuous carpet. There's nothing wrong with the floor, but because of the pattern in it, it looks like there's several places where the floor dips.
That's so awesome. I want this. I want to make houses with it and put it in all the houses.
You are gonna freak so many people out with that.
This shop in Paris. They embraced the rubber sheet metaphor of space-time to guide the interior design. The illusion was so convincing, apparently, some people would actually stumble across the floors.
I don't doubt it.
This photograph is from 2008, and they've unfortunately redecorated a few times, and they've taken out this carpeting and replaced it with a solid color in November of 2013.
Aww.
There's other pictures that show how flat this carpet is and how it is an optical illusion once you get up close to it. But at a distance, depending on perspective, this could really freak somebody the hell out.
Yep.
I almost want to get that and just see what the pets in the house would do.
I don't think pets are as susceptible to optical illusions like that.
Maybe. It'd be fun to see if they just naturally walk around some of the distortions, though.
Yeah. They are, if you know, one of the lines of defense is camouflage in nature.
Yeah. Well, Boston Dynamics has built a robot that could have its uses, except, you know, their example leaves me with some questions. They have a robotic pack mule they call it the Big Dog. It's a 4-legged robot that has an extra arm on top. The arm is strong enough that it can throw a fucking cinder block.
Pictures.
Not only can it... Oh, no.
Yeah, Pixar didn't happen.
Okay, fine. I will send you this instead. Y'all can go fuck yourself. Because I don't have pictures. I have fucking video.
Well, that's
Better.
better.
It is a 6-minute video. It shows this thing easily picking up a cinder block, walking around with it with 4 legs, and it can apparently throw this thing. Yeah, it can huck it a good 20 feet sideways. Not overhead, I mean a sideways throw. Like a bad football player.
Improve the AI a bit, and we've suddenly got a replacement for the NFL players.
Are you kidding? Could you imagine a mortar launcher that doesn't require an ignition switch?
Even better.
You know, let's see this go up against Google's Wildcat robot. Let's give this thing a lance. We'll give the Wildcat a switchblade. Let's go!
Robot fight.
You can almost say that arm might be the head of the machine.
Well, that's not the only robot news I have in general nerd news. A German engineering firm called Festo built what's in the link I just gave you. They have claw-tipped, artificially intelligent arms that mimic utility and movement of an elephant.
Oh, I saw this.
These things are actually very reminiscent of Dr. Octopus. It's by the same firm that brought us a mechanical seagull, of all fucking things.
I think I saw a picture of it taking a kid's glass of lemonade or something like that.
Yeah, why would you want a mechanical seagull, though?
I don't know.
I mean, I don't need another thing that poops on my car.
I assume it would not actually poop.
Yeah. Well, these apparently are hooked up to an AI. They can actually think. They can make judgments as far as how to grasp things and with what intensity. It's kind of a scary idea.
Oh crap, they are Dr. Octopus's arms.
Oh, they're not single coil like his arms. They're multi-coil.
Yeah, but each arm's got an AI.
Yeah. Let's just hope it doesn't get bored. But in the video I gave you at about the 45-second mark, it actually watches somebody come up with an object and take it from his hand. And then it looks like it passes it over to the other arm, which finds it, grabs it, and takes it away.
Keep away.
It's like, ooh, Cyber Peanut, I need to shove this in something. And it hands it off very gently, too. These things have pretty good perception. I wonder where the cameras are. It has to have some way of visual acquisition.
It's probably
Well, not
inside
necessarily.
the paws.
Yeah, sensors. Not necessarily cameras.
It's curious to see where this would go. Could you imagine somebody that lost an arm and suddenly gets that replaced with it?
Dude, I feel like Doc. You know what I'm trying to say.
Sort of. Also, I put this in general nerd interest because this doesn't quite fit in with any other Marvel category I have. There is a cosplay company called Cos Couture. They're presenting what they call a night in New Orleans. They're going to have a cosplay shoot in the French Quarter out in New Orleans in September. 14 top-tier cosplayers, 3 photographers, and makeup artists are all going to be on hand in the Big Easy. You know, it's very rare that people go on location, but the fact that they have this project already set, that's pretty cool. Each cosplayer is being given a budget with a budget cap, and they can use their funds however they want to bring their best to the Big Easy. Interesting project. You know, maybe I'll try and track some of them down and see if somebody's willing to talk about it.
Oh, that's interesting with the claws. They're actually not solid.
Oh, no, they're not.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, we have another robot.
More.
Yay, robots!
There is a robot that was built out of Legos, and it killed the speed record for Rubik's Cubes.
I saw that one!
It solved a Rubik's Cube in approximately 3 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
That's impressive.
I don't know if it was pre-programmed or if it just had a few cameras in it so it can measure the colors, but as soon as the guy hit go, it whirled this cube around in several different directions, and it took 3.25 seconds to solve a Rubik's Cube.
Nice.
It's kind of intimidating to watch, actually.
Yeah, I know. I think it has a camera.
Oh, I never get your hand stuck in this. It would shred it. It's called the Cube Stormer 3. Makes you wonder what happened to 1 and 2. V, this one's for you. Physicists may have finally detected gravitational waves.
I think I read about that.
The Harvard-Smithsonian Center for Astrophysics may have actually picked up gravitational waves, which is the final piece that was missing from Einstein's theory of relativity, as well as the final piece missing from the theory of the Big Bang.
Yeah, and as I understand it, it supports multiverse theory really well.
It does. It's going to take some corroboration because they're the first ones to produce the findings, but they still have to be studied fully. but they say that they found the microwave background radiation of gravitational waves, but based on scans from 2003 to 2008. The reason why they haven't announced it for 5 years is because it takes a hell of a lot of time to sift through that much data.
Right.
So there's still work to be done, but it sounds like we may actually start to understand the universe, and that also means that when we understand gravitational waves, we can build tractor beams, and we can have full sensor arrays, and, now all we need is an annoying android to pilot the fucking ship.
Now all we need is Starfleet. I really want to join Starfleet. Is that bad?
Only if you're the only one doing it. If we find you in a basement with a bunch of cardboard cutouts, we will come with people in white suits and nets.
Aww.
I never thought the selling point for joining the Los Angeles Police Department was a chance to drive a Lamborghini. I'm not fucking kidding. The LA Police Department, as part of an announcement they had on Instagram, showed pictures of their new chase vehicle, which happens to be a Lamborghini Gallardo. I sent you guys a link to the Instagram. This is not a fucking joke. It looks like something straight out of Transformers, for Christ's sakes. Could you imagine this chasing you down the highway? Because I wouldn't have a high-speed pursuit. I would just pull over and say, you got me. That's it. You fucking got me.
It's a sweet-looking vehicle.
I just hope another car shows up. Could you imagine trying to shove some oversized person in the back seat in a cage?
What cage?
Open the door, bend forward the seat, shove him in the back.
Just strap him on top.
I got this on the 101. What do you think, Harvey? This 8-point or what, man? Have you guys seen the video of flying in the first-person perspective as Superman?
No.
This was done by a company, let me see, Corridor Digital. They came up with a concept video that's rather interesting. What if Superman wore a GoPro?
A what?
A GoPro. One of those video cameras you can strap to your forehead. A lot of people use it.
Oh, yeah.
Stuff.
Oh, yeah.
So they did a video of what if he had one. They apparently produced this vehicle, or this video, using a drone that had a camera stuck to it, as well as some live-action actors. And after sitting and watching it, this is the Superman movie I would like to see. I think it's actually better than the movies that have been produced. The movie really starts up only about, I'd probably only say about 15 seconds in. And as you can see, they put together a pretty interesting video of what it would look like if Superman would take off flying.
If found, return to Sam Gorski. This ought to look pretty cool.
Yeah, I've seen much worse movies than this put out by Warner Brothers, frankly. What do you think?
I like it.
Interesting perspective.
And it's very unique.
Yeah, this is much more interesting than any Superman movie I've ever seen.
Did you hit the part with beating up a couple gunmen in the alley?
Not
Watching
yet.
it right now.
It's at the 46-second mark. This is pretty cool.
Nice.
I actually recognize a couple sections of downtown LA. He's actually flying over the hole where the Wilshire Grand used to be. If this is an unmanned vehicle, I wonder how they got the permits for this, because they're flying it all over LA. Yeah, Superman fighting a fire. Yeah, I'm gonna cut it off there, because I could sit there watching that for a few minutes.
Man, yeah. Oh, no, wait. Fire. I've got to see this. Nice.
And catch. Well, V
It's just like, thanks, Superman.
Yeah.
This just ain't no thing.
I know. I mean, in my case, I think I'd say, thank you. I swear to God, I will clean that up. V, there's something else here that's of your interest. There's an interactive moon map.
That sounds intriguing.
Each pixel on the map is the equivalent to 6.5 feet of lunar surface. It uses more than 10,000 snapshots of the moon in mosaic to form a complete image of the moon's northern pole. NASA's Lunar Reconnaissance Orbital Camera Team made the map. The effective size of it is this North Pole map of the moon is the equivalent of most of the center of the U.S. in scale size. It's pretty impressive. You may want to check that out because it's very detailed.
I definitely will.
Let me see. Would you guys ride in the Bugatti Veyron of hovercraft?
Oh, what?
Mercer Jones is a company that's building a 2015 Supercraft. It's a hovercraft vehicle. It's a Chicago-based creator who says that this thing can travel at high speeds over all kinds of terrain, including ice, sand, water, and everything in between. It gets up to 80 miles an hour. Or at least that's the idea once it gets into prototype phase. Apparently, he's hoping he's going to break the current hovercraft speed record of 56 miles an hour. At 40 miles per hour, this thing supposedly has a range of 120 miles on it. A hover height of 7 inches off the ground. The powertrain is 60 horsepower twin-rotor engine and a pair of electric motors. So this thing has no exhaust emissions. It's a curious idea.
Now we get one to go 88 miles an hour.
I was just thinking something to that effect.
We've discussed a few times the Magic the Gathering online exchange, Mt. Gox.
Yep.
Remember them? They moved into Bitcoins.
Uh-huh.
And remember they had a bunch of Bitcoin stolen. They had 750,000 Bitcoin stolen, the equivalent of $480 million.
Ouch.
Well, this took a turn because they found $120 million of Bitcoins in their company.
Found?
Yeah, it turns out that they had about 200,000 of the missing Bitcoins in a wallet that they just weren't using at the time. When I say wallet, obviously I don't mean, physical wallet. I mean an online wallet, an electric wallet. Right. But they found 200,000 coins just laying in an online wallet they literally forgot about.
That's awesome.
It was an old format wallet that was used prior to June of 2011. That's why they forgot about it. Now, the unfortunate thing I can see coming from this is good that they found, maybe a quarter of what's missing. That's cool. What's unfortunate is that that all these investors that lost their Bitcoins due to those hackers are going to start arguing over whose Bitcoins precisely those are.
Yeah.
So, this is going to suck. And the last bit of general nerd interest I have is that Google has apparently thrown out funding, or they've rejected funding by the military for their humanoid robot.
That's good.
Apparently,
right?
DARPA wanted to put some money in it. I don't know about military applications, but definitely some kind of federal application for all the robotics companies Google has bought in the last 12 months. And some of it they can't get away from. It's like Boston Dynamics that built that Cinderblock chucking robot and Shaft still have obligations to DARPA from before the period Google bought them. But, Google did turn down recent funding requests by DARPA because their aspirations are more in the consumer market than in the military application of their robot.
Which is good.
Yeah, and the companies Google bought is very interesting because those companies, I don't know about individually or altogether, make robot legs, arms, eyes, wheels, and brains.
And I'll form the head.
Steve, do you have a few $1,000s? Because you may get that Persicom sooner than you thought.
Yeah.
Last section of news we have is arguably one of our favorites because it's our what the fuck section of news. It's that news that just makes you question what in the hell is going on in the world. And the first one is going to be of the interest of all of you because it's about an escape artist. It's an escape artist that happens to be a feline. It's on
okay.
It's on the Sploid and Gizmodo websites. There's actually a GIF at the top of the page I just sent you that shows you that this cat is smart enough that he can reach outside, get the latch of his cage, and open it.
Cats can be really smart sometimes.
Well, it's not like it's in one move. It's not like he just reaches out, flicks a claw, and hooks it. He's actually pawing at it, and he just keeps moving the latch until it pops open.
Not much intelligence, but more determination. A little bit of both, maybe.
Yeah. Well, the cat is a solid white cat. His name is Marshmallow.
Aw.
Run, Marshmallow, run!
Oh, there it is.
But he does open his cages by himself. You almost wonder if this is like some kind of escape movie where we just said, well, guards are gone, time to party, click! Now I'm going to find where they had the kibble.
Oh, he's cute.
Okay, we'll move from the cute to the stupid.
Oh.
The Yellow River in China has been frozen for weeks. It is just not moved. And China's Flood Prevention Authority decided that before the snow melts and creates a huge disaster of flooding, they're going to break the ice. So what they did was they sent the Chinese Air Force to bomb the ice.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
Wow.
There's a GIF. There's YouTube. China's Air Force sent planes loaded with heavy bombs, dropped 24 of them, and destroyed the ice. I can think of several other ways to handle this.
Yes.
But no, they actually decided to drop something that looks like their equivalent of a Moab down to take care of this issue. It's almost as stupid as like dynamite fishers in the middle of a frozen lake, frankly. Now, we've gone from the cute to the ridiculous to the serious problems.
These are the fun ones.
Well, there's a Russian chemistry instructor who intentionally carved up a pupil with a kitchen knife for the sake of a class demonstration.
What?
What?
According to someone on Reddit, she was trying to explain several things that how colors can or how chemistry can affect colors of several items. And according to this, the color of something comes from thiocyantrian ions. Skin was rubbed with a cotton ball soaked with a solution of thiocyanate ions, and that knife was covered with a solution of iron, which has a yellowish color. When the solutions combined, these ions reacted together, forming blood red. I'm sure that's a joke. But the fact is that this, or at least according to the story anyway, some Russian lady, for the sake of examining or exampling something to a class, apparently took a knife to a student.
Did the student live?
Doesn't have that much information, so this may be rumor. And somebody else already made the joke that this, you don't cut things in class cuts you. I seriously hope this is fucking fake somehow. Because that's got to be scary when, you go to school and your teacher's allowed to come at you with a knife.
Well, unless they volunteered. Like, hey, you can cut me open and see what my blood looks like.
Yeah, I'm going to flunk. Okay, there's a New Zealander man who decided to challenge the limits of the law. And now that I've said that, I can almost see the images you guys are thinking of. Did he assault somebody? Did he try sex in public? Did he pee in a fountain? He didn't do anything quite that radical. He decided to test the length of the legal name you can acquire. The longest name you can have in New England, by law, is no longer than 99 characters. Okay?
All right.
So, there is a copy of a picture of the form that this man had accepted to change his name. His name is now Full Metal Havoc, more sexy and intelligent than Spock and all the superheroes combined with Frost Nova.
Okay.
I am not fucking kidding.
That doesn't sound like a name.
It is his name. Full Metal Havoc, more sexy and intelligent than Spock and all the superheroes combined with Frost Nova. What do you call this man in the bar?
Havoc?
Full?
Sexy?
Spock?
Stupid. How about
And?
stupid?
Yeah, I'm going with stupid.
I mean, and is in his name. You can just call him And.
I bet everyone just calls him Andy.
Well, names apparently can't include numbers or syllables. Rejected names in recent years from New Zealand include Majesty, King, Knight, Princess, Justice, Anal, V8, 89, Mafia No Fear, Lucifer, Full Stop, and Star Symbol. And when I say star symbol, I mean that symbol you get when you click Shift 8.
Uh-huh.
Or, I'm sorry, Control 8, whatever the fuck. No, Shift 8. Shift 8.
That's an asterisk.
Yeah. Somebody tried to name themselves just the asterisk symbol. That was rejected. But somehow, this man can call himself Full Metal Havoc, more sexy and intelligent than Spock and all the superheroes combined with Frost Nova.
I guess the government decided if he really wanted to call himself that.
Or maybe he just got that one clerk who looked at that, looked at him, looked back in the paper, and just said, "Oh fuck it, I don't care."
Probably.
Have you guys ever parked on the beach?
Nope.
You guys
No.
ever parked a car on the beach?
Nope.
Not on the beach.
Okay, well, there's a couple in Lincoln that may never do it again. Lincoln City, Oregon. According to KPTV Fox 12 News, somebody decided to park their car on the beach and go for a walk. They apparently misguessed where the tide was.
Oh, fun.
Oh,
The
crap.
car started to shift and float. They called for help. A backhoe was brought out to get the car.
That
I was-
car's done.
Yeah, that
Prob-
car was going to float away.
Oh, there's one picture where the backhoe, and the letters come in. The backhoe actually was deep enough in the tide that water was almost up over its treads to get this car out. Amazingly enough, they actually did get the car out.
Yeah, now the car and the backhoe has got problems.
Yeah. Jenny McCarthy she's a Playboy model. She's never struck me as the most intelligent person. She's pretty and everything, but there's certain times where she should really shut her mouth.
Yeah.
And she didn't take the hint on when to do that. She's one of those people that has said that you shouldn't vaccinate your children.
Mm-hmm. She's the one that kicked off the fad of it.
Yeah, she's a mother herself. She claims to have cured her son with a gluten-free diet.
Bah.
Cured him of autism with a gluten-free diet. He's still autistic. She talks about how vaccines are full of toxins that they don't have. And meanwhile, she's one of those people that will actually inject Botox into her face, so go figure. Well, she decided to put out a tweet that says, "What is the most important personality trait you look for in a mate? Reply using #JennyAsks." Well, you should really not open yourself to that kind of stuff, because some of the responses are, they vaccinate their kids, #JennyAsks. Someone who vaccinates because I'd want our kids to survive, #JennyAsks. Someone who respects that science isn't on some secret miraculous or malicious crusade to screw us over and that vaccinations save lives, #JennyAsks. What qualities do I look for in a mate? Science literacy and critical thinking skills, #JennyAsks.
Damn.
Well, at least people have their values.
Someone who gets their medical advice from real doctors, not anti-vax cranks, #JennyAsks. While I do love getting diseases that were eradicated in the last century, I would say vaccinated is a trait I look for, #JennyAsks. Ideal mate accepts scientific consensus and considers the elderly, infants, and immune compromised before spreading baseless hysteria, #Jenny. Donate to the Red Cross Measles and Rubella Initiative, #JennyAsks. So, yeah, if you're going to put out...
Calm down.
No, that's the last one. I'm not the ones doing that. I'm just reading this stuff. So, literally, before you put stuff out on Twitter, think a little bit first.
Yeah.
Something that also I thought fit into What the Fuck News was a website, let me see, who is this? HuffPost Comedy, put out some factoids about St. Patrick's Day. Because a lot of people in this country celebrate St. Patrick's, a hell of a lot more than the Irish actually do. Did you know that St. Patrick's color is not green, it's blue? So that means whoever started this tradition in America was probably colorblind. St. Patrick's Day was invented in America. The Irish don't give a shit. The Ireland Irish don't give a shit. It's kind of odd that March 17th is the day we celebrate St. Patrick because that's the day he died.
So we celebrate his death.
Yes. Not only that, St. Patrick didn't drive all the snakes from Ireland because carbon dating and study of the zoology shows there were never snakes in Ireland.
I was pretty sure that the snakes were metaphorical.
Probably. Let's see. St. Patrick's Day used to be a dry holiday. Weren't allowed to drink. Corned beef and cabbage is about as traditional Irish fare as spaghetti and meatballs. There's more Irish people living in the U.S. than there are in the entirety of Ireland.
That makes sense.
It is an island.
And your odds of finding a four-leaf clover are slim to none.
And we're not surprised about this.
Yeah. Now,
I found a 5-leaf clover once, though.
Wow, what radioactive shithole did you live near?
Some place in Texas.
Okay, now I have one here that's hard to put into news because it's not necessarily news. Dorkly.com put up what they considered the most what the fuck picture of all time, and in staring at it, I wholeheartedly agree.
Oh, God.
I sent you guys a link. What I'm staring at is a picture of somebody who's suffering from extreme dwarfism using a walking wheelchair, who has a woman who seems to have Andorian antlers, it looks like affixed to her head somehow, a mohawk with a slightly shaved head, a red Star Trek tunic dress, a Next Generation comm badge, and that appears to be a cross underneath her skin just above her cleavage.
That's interesting.
I sent you the picture. Do you see it?
I do see it.
I've just described the picture. Beyond that, I barely have the words for this. This is
The final frontier of what is happening.
This is so bizarre in so many fucking ways. It's like he captured a whore.
A nerdy whore.
He's got her on a red leash. I mean, if he wrestled that down and put a leash on it, congratulations, man, you've earned it. What you're gonna do with it, I don't know. I have another what the fuck story, and this is one of those sad ones, unfortunately. Have you guys heard about the kid that was bullied because of his backpack?
Yeah.
Yeah, a 9-year-old kid was bullied because he wore a My Little Pony backpack to school. Now,
that explains why Jesse's heard of it.
His name is Grayson Bruce, which means he has a very Batman name, probably by coincidence. But just for bringing this backpack to school, this 9-year-old boy was made fun of at school. And the really reprehensible part is the reaction by the school was basically one of, don't bring a backpack that's going to antagonize people to school.
Of course.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
They have no other options. They can't punish kids anymore. They can't.
Yeah.
It's still just sad that this kid can't enjoy his fandom. I despise My Little Pony. I really do. But I don't go to conventions making fun of people for their fandom. They have their fandom. I don't give a shit.
But this is also kids. The most cruelest creatures on Earth.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
It's just sad that this kid can't enjoy himself in public. He's going to turn into some sad little weirdo, probably skinning his My Little Ponies at home because he can't enjoy them.
And life goes on.
It's just fucked up. You guys know about the Malaysian plane that's missing, MH370?
Of course.
Okay, and we all know that CNN has had kind of questionable reporting in the last few years.
I don't... sure, whatever.
Don't even watch it, so yeah,
Okay.
whatever.
Yeah.
Well, on Wednesday of this week, their anchor, Don Lemon, he read a pair of tweets and suggested the disappearance of the plane could be the result of a black hole. He actually
Just read a report on that.
He actually was on TV talking about this.
Oh, boy.
He actually said that the disappearance of the plane could be the result of a black hole, Bermuda Triangle, or an occurrence akin to the television series of Lost.
I'd be more willing to believe a Bermuda Triangle than a black hole. In fact, I'm kind of okay with the Bermuda Triangle, but...
Let's not get into the base astrophysics of how a black hole in that proximity to Earth would fucking annihilate us.
Right?
But who let this man on TV? Because the weather events in the Bermuda Triangle, and it's generally weather events that bring down these items. I could understand that, but let alone it's in an area where that generally doesn't happen. But the idea to propagate a black hole theory, or that something akin to Lost could happen, and you're on a news station, a 24-hour news station reporting this shit, you're not Fox News. You're supposed to use facts, man.
Facts are overrated in journalism, it seems.
Now I'm starting to understand why Jon Stewart hates CNN so much. They're trying to do the wrong fucking things. Of course, I can only take so much Wolf Blitzer during the day. Last bit of what the fuck news I have was a serious what the fuck. There's a robot that's been built, and it's called Shiri. I'm not sure who built this thing, and I'm not sure I want to get into who built this thing, because the robot is a pair of buttocks.
Okay.
It is literally a pair of buttocks from the waist down to the upper thigh. It is an ass. They built an ass. Okay? And the reason why this is a robot is because they are specially designed not only to receive stimulation in the form of slaps, caresses, and finger pokes, but respond to that stimulation by tensing, twitching, and protruding the artificial muscles in expression of emotion.
Oh.
Now, with a name like Shiri, this thing has to be Japanese. I'm going to make that assumption right off the top here. Not only because of the name, but because this is too fucking weird to come out of most other countries. It's literally an ass that is supposed to example how a robot could respond to different stimulus. Couldn't you make a robot that shakes hands, or gives you, like, you know, an Ebonics-style 20-step handshake, or something a little more conventional?
Well, to be fair, I mean, I guess those are much more, probably, either more difficult to make, or less show-offy for as far as body language goes.
You think it's not show-offy to build a robot that responds to your slaps and caresses by tensing up?
I'm just saying that I can see where something that doesn't have hands might be more impressive to respond.
Okay. Steve, you're oddly silent during this.
Well, I'm feeling a little insulted. I mean, you know, I'm not an ass man. They should have created breasts.
I tend to agree.
I don't know. That amuses me in certain ways, and at the same time, just what the hell?
Do you want the video?
No, actually, I don't.
Okay, well, I have one final question on this one, and I'll let it go. Why didn't they name it Ass Face?
Copyrights?
It is so fucking bizarre. From there, we will get into the topic of the week, and the topic is comic book events. There have been a lot of them over the history of the big companies, and the idea is that a lot of these, you know, sometimes they create more expansive stories, sometimes they're obviously just an attempt to get more money out of the readers. Now, in the sense of Doctor Who, which has the concept of fixed points in time, there's some things you can't change without catastrophic events happening across the rest of your timeline. Which comic book events should and should not be fixed points in time?
Anything to do with the Phoenix?
Do you mean should happen or should not happen?
Pick one. I don't really know all that much about what happens with the Phoenix, but I understand a lot of stuff happens with it.
Okay, well, let's take that as the first example, the Dark Phoenix saga.
Okay.
Now, that's an event that it didn't really expand the X-Men's influence in the Marvel Universe as a whole. It was definitely a self-contained item, but it contained an event that kind of ripped the team in half. Not during it. I mean, the aftermath of it really had a lot of fallouts for different members, including Cyclops leaving the team.
Right.
Wolverine put on that brown costume for the first time in his history. Nightcrawler became morose. You know, Colossus was practically depressed for a little while. Storm killed all of her plants. Several things occurred after Dark Phoenix happened. What do you think? Should that be an event that kept in timelines, or should that be ripped out?
No, I'm pretty sure you have to keep it.
Yeah, that seems a little bit too major.
Well, give me an example. Why should it be kept?
Well, okay. If you didn't, a lot of characters wouldn't exist now. Not to mention that is, you know, if she hadn't have died, the cosmic repercussions would also be, you know, enormous. I don't see how you can eliminate that.
Remember, it's not a matter of whether or not she died. It's a matter of whether or not the event on a whole should have happened.
Oh, whether or not she wound up with the Phoenix, or she became corrupted by it.
Correct. I mean, you can deal with the obvious repercussions that there wouldn't be a Madeline Pryor. Cable and Rachel Summers might actually exist. You know, as brother and sister instead of just whatever the fuck they are right now in their family tree. I guess the most major reason I could think of to keep it is it's one of the most serious examples of how power can go seriously wrong.
Yeah.
You know, for a character that overarchingly powerful, it was kind of inevitable, at least in comparison.
That something would happen.
Yeah, I mean, a normal human mind can only take so much power before it collapses. You know, just look at Donald Trump. He became powerful, and all of a sudden he doesn't know shit. George Bush got a lot of power, and he started a land war nobody wanted. So I think that the overarching theme of how power can corrupt is very important, and I don't think there's many better examples than the Dark Phoenix.
Tony Stark starting the Civil War.
That is a good one. That is a good one. He did that while he was defense secretary, I think.
He was defense secretary?
Yeah, there was a period in comics where everyone knew his identity. The president asked him to run both S.H.I.E.L.D. and he acted as Secretary of Defense.
Huh.
It was an interesting storyline, at least. I thought so, anyway.
I can't imagine a lot of other superheroes were happy about that.
The Avengers didn't mind it. You know, they acted with a lot more impunity.
Fair.
Yeah, until he started throwing his weight around, nobody really seemed to care too much.
Actually, it was a whole nother event that brought the whole thing down, but we can get into that at another time. Let me see. I'm trying to find a DC item that should be good to discuss.
Identity Crisis?
That's a decent one to discuss, although it's hard to tell how much V and Jesse know about that. Well, V probably knows next to shit about that.
Yep.
Steve, how much do you know about the Identity Crisis?
I know it exists.
It's a very strange story. The wife of the elongated man is murdered in their apartment, and the DC community gets working finding her murderer, which turned out to be the wife of the Atom, if I remember correctly.
Yes.
You know, I'm not a DC fan, but I thought that was one of those things that could have definitely been pulled out of continuity. I don't think that needs to happen. It seems to fall in line with DC's real philosophy since the 90s of women being nothing more than story devices, really. Especially non-superheroic characters. They seem very disposable. That goes back to the whole phrase that's been used in comics, women in fridges.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Now, my question is, what was the eventual result of that? I mean, when they found out that this other, wife had killed the wife of, the elongated man, what...
Basically, she went crazy because she was a victim of rape from one of the B-list villains.
Yeah,
who wasn't actually a B-list villain, but they mind-whammied him into becoming a dumb-as-bricks villain.
Yeah, Dr. Light. And they put her in jail, but she got her hands on a gem that turned her into the modern version of Eclipso, which is a DC villain I don't quite understand. It's one of those high-level threats. It sounds lame when you say the name out loud.
But a lot of the controversy came from the fact that they mind-whamming him, and Batman was actually present there at the time for that event, and he was the only one against the idea, while the rest of the B-list seems to do it.
Yeah.
So they mind-whammied him, too.
To me, I think this whole thing can be taken out of continuity, because there are so many other ways to tell the story about how the Justice League, overreached and started playing with the brains of supervillains. To frame it over the idea of, this poor woman who's been brutalized turning into a murderer, it's just too much, I think. But
it definitely isn't a high point.
No. But let's talk about something else that's probably a better example, and that's The Last Laugh. Oh no, I'm sorry, not The Last Laugh. The Killing Joke, I think we should talk about.
Killing Joke.
The Killing Joke is the Batman story where the Joker showed up at Barbara Gordon's apartment after figuring out her alter ego and shot her.
Yeah.
He put her in the wheelchair. He paralyzed her. He ended her career as Batgirl, and she rededicated her life to crime fighting as an information specialist and became Oracle.
Right.
It's not one of those stories that's a laugher by any degree, even though you have the Joker in it. But I do think that's one of those things that should be fixed. I don't think you should ever fix it. The fact that Barbara Gordon is just mysteriously walking without explanation in the New 52, I think is a travesty.
Oh yeah, there was a huge uproar when that happened.
Well, I'm not talking about the uproar. I'm talking about my own personal opinion. And it's not because I want to see her paralyzed, but the fact that we don't know how she overcame it means that there's one of those stories of human struggle, probably one of the worst any normal person can imagine, of losing the ability to do something very basic, and we don't know how she overcame that.
Yeah, that's taking something away from the story.
Yeah, there's all kinds of people that overcome that in real life. Why can't we know the story about how she learned to walk again? That could be a huge story.
Well, or did she? I mean, due to the fact that they're pretty much rewriting their,
no, it was mentioned
reality.
That she recovered from that.
Yeah, as far as I understand, they explained that the Killing Joke did occur. she was shot, she was paralyzed, she got better. I'd like to know how she got better. Think about the kind of... I'm sorry?
I don't think they have a reason why she got better.
I think that sucks, because that's one of those stories that, kids could pick up, read, and actually draw from.
Yeah.
Yeah, I highly agree. I just don't think they really thought it through.
Yeah. I think that sucks, but I think that's a story that you can never remove from continuity after its writing. And
yeah.
And that's not just because of the inspirational part of the story. That's also because of how it's a decent story about how a woman who could arguably find herself at the lowest point ever, unable to do the things that she didn't just think were vital, she enjoyed doing, and she found a way to repurpose herself as probably one of the preeminent handicapped characters in comics ever. It sounds like it sounds like a PC ad, but it's true. The story of Oracle is inspirational in and of itself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, she didn't just throw in the towel and give up.
Right. She found a new way to serve, and she was not only still helping Batman, but she formed another team around herself, the Birds of Prey.
Mm-hmm. That happened after the Joker killed her mother, right?
I believe so. I don't remember how the Joker found out who she was, but he definitely was up her nose, basically.
Mm.
Okay. Let's see. What else do we have here? I have one that I'm kind of on the fence about. The second Secret Wars. That was a bizarre story where the Beyonder took heroes and villains of Earth to a constructed planet to have them fight it out to determine which is better, good or evil.
It's very subjective, good and evil.
Well, this series came out in 84 and 85, and, unfortunately back then, we didn't know that good and evil were subjective. We only thought of white hats and black hats. You gotta remember, This was still that period where we thought that guy twiddling his mustache was up to no good.
Mm.
This is also the period where people would proclaim that they're doing things just for the sake of evil!
Yeah, that's dumb.
I mean, it had a couple of interesting things coming out of it. One of them was the fact that that's where the symbiote that bonded the Spider-Man came out of.
Right. Which actually winds up being a greater in-depth exploration of, good and evil.
Yeah. The culmination of this the first Secret Wars in 84 and 85, was that Dr. Doom stole the powers of the Beyonder, becoming almost godlike, but was defeated by the entirety of the assembled heroes. As much as the symbiote appearance right now is worth serious cash, I don't think that this needs to happen. I think you can unfix this point in time. It's not central to really much of anything.
Yeah. It sounds, from here, it sounds just dumb, but...
No, give your opinion. You won't insult me by arguing that something I like doesn't appeal to you. I fucking hate Supernatural. You love it. That's fine.
The words aren't coming.
No, it's okay. It's absolutely all right.
Yeah, I don't know. Even going by comic book standards, it doesn't make a lot of sense. I mean, yes, I understand. Dr. Doom stole the guy's powers, and they had to defeat him instead. But at the same time, it was like, what was the eventual goal?
Sales, I think.
But I mean, the Beyonder pulls these people up there and then loses his powers because, he didn't see that one coming, even though he's got the ability to do this. But, what was he going to do? Well, which is better, good or evil? Oh, well, I see. Good is better. Thanks for solving that for me, and go back to Earth now. What is the purpose?
Well, that's that scene where Wolverine and Spider-Man high five and just start chanting "Good rules, good rules, good rules, good." I don't know.
The plot doesn't really seem to be very thought out, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's not thought provoking or anything. It's just a sensationalist. Here's why the good guys are good.
Yeah, I completely grant that. How about one that's more modern and probably we all are relatively aware of, and that's DC's Flashpoint. That's the event where the Flash attempted to change time to save his mother, created that alternate universe where Thomas Wayne was Batman, Cyborg was one of the bigger heroes in the world, and this is the event that led us to the New 52 era of DC.
I really actually like the idea of Flashpoint and the real tough choice that Flash had to pull.
Mm-hmm.
But the aftermath of it is, except for Aquaman, I don't know.
See, unfortunately, that's the point I'm at. I enjoyed the concept of it. I didn't really enjoy the execution so much. I thought it was better animated than it was in comic book or on the page. And the event on a whole could be very thought-provoking about choices.
Yeah.
And what people may have to give up for the sake of, creating a greater good. But I am also of the opinion that the New 52 in a whole didn't need to happen as a result of this series.
Oh, we can just set the New 52 as its own event.
Practically. I mean, Steve, it sounds like you have an extra opinion in there.
I was just... Yeah, I haven't actually read Flashpoint, but the way it's described, yeah, it definitely, has its story to tell. But yeah, I definitely would not have gone the route of the New 52.
Yeah. So we can unfix a point in time because we have to fix the ending. That's basically what I'm drawing from this.
Yeah.
I got one that's been pondering. World War Hulk.
Oh, it's an interesting one. That's the one where the Hulk returns from some time off-world, has developed more of a mind on his own. He and Banner are in sync, and he's trying to punish the heroes that sent him away.
Right.
In reading it, I enjoyed the hell out of it. Does it need to occur, I guess is a question.
I don't think so, to be honest.
In hindsight, probably not.
Yeah.
It didn't change a whole lot of status quos of anything by the end of it, even though he destroyed Manhattan. In my mind, the only positive thing that came out of it was that it was a full show of how much the Sentry can stand up to one of the strongest beings in the Marvel Universe.
Yeah, I think it also kind of brought to light some of the power mongering by other heroes.
Yeah, that it did.
The Illuminati,
which hasn't ended, by the way.
Right.
They just have a new name. That's an interesting idea. There was a lot of interesting visuals and good writing in there, but in the end, not much really changed. The Avengers were still the Avengers. The X-Men still had nothing to do with any of it. Even though their leader was one of the causes of the event, there was only like this 2-issue mini where the Hulk attacked the Xavier Institute, and then he was gone, and the X-Men just said, well, fuck, we're not doing this anymore. So, yeah, I guess you can unfix that point, because it really didn't do much for anything.
Yeah.
Could you even unfix the part where they ejected Hulk off planet?
Actually, no. I think that's necessary, because that's one of the few ways the character had any growth in the past, 3 decades.
Mm.
Well, I mean, there's always those periods where he changes colors and the powers shift a little bit and the brains change. But this was the first time the Green Hulk actually evolved.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the first time he said more than Hulk smash or Hulk need nap.
Hulk tired.
Yeah. I have an interesting one that came up in a list here, and I want to ask you guys about it. Inferno.
No idea what that is.
Neither.
Steve, do you remember?
Is that Ghost Rider?
No, Inferno was a story of how the demons from Magic's world of Limbo invaded the world. They hit members of Excalibur. They hit the X-Men. The Avengers dealt with them limitedly. It created this, I don't want to say alternative world, but it created this weird timescape where the demons of hell were literally in charge of the planet, being led by the Goblin Queen, Madeline Pryor.
Huh. No, I do not remember that one.
That's one of those things that I'm kind of on the fence about. I guess to be the only one speaking here, because there was a lot of visuals and it was very obviously a crossover meant to sell more books of more series. If you get deeper into the Excalibur series, you'll find their Inferno pages where the Phoenix was turned into a mannequin, and several characters were left out on their own. It even involved the corruption of several X-Men. Longshot and Dazzler became minions of the lead demon in charge for a while. Havoc did too. So I guess as much as it didn't have a lasting impact on most of the things happening in the Marvel Universe, it did change several of the X-Men characters and their outlook. Several of them left after the events because they figured that they had more to learn about being people. It's arguably an important lesson to learn, but it's not one that had to be learned in that format.
Right.
Visually, it was very impressive, but it didn't change much of anything. It's another case where New York was nearly destroyed, and then a couple issues later, look, it's shiny.
Well, how about this thorn for you, Jeremy?
Okay.
Blackest Night.
Oh. Unfix it. No, well, Blackest Night was a story of the Black Lanterns, the supposedly undead lanterns that were coming forth and taking people's hearts and eating their emotions and creating new Black Lanterns out of them. It was kind of a zombie tale, but I was disappointed in the fact that, unlike the Necrosha storyline in the X-Men, these weren't true resurrections of anybody. We found out they were all constructs. They were bones reanimated by the rings, doing, kind of reading their DNA and acting kind of like the character would, but they still weren't true resurrections of any sort. That was very disappointing. To find out that all this stuff that could scare the shit out of people was literally nothing more than cosmic level manipulation.
Yeah, that does sound disappointing.
Yeah. There were all these characters coming back, like Terra and the original Captain Boomerang, and they even brought back like a couple Supermen or alternative Supermen that were buried on the planet. And that sounds scary as fuck. And then you realize it's not really them; it's the rings controlling the bodies, and then it gets a little disappointing. Let alone how some of those rings took over characters that were reborn in their series, like Superman and Wonder Woman. It's like, holy shit, they're gonna die. And then the rings were summarily knocked off by other color rings, so they were suddenly fighting for other teams. It's like, holy shit, that's way too convenient. About the only bonus to the whole thing was that it's finally one of those crossover series where the Green Lantern was taking front and center, finally with somebody other than Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman fixing things. But it took so long to resolve. I think it was like a 12-issue mini, but by the end, you just wanted it to fucking end. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that just... Especially, I think it was more disappointing just due to the fact that, they built up these other Lantern Corps to deal with this, and then it was just almost anticlimactic.
Yeah, the other Lantern Corps figured into it very lightly, if at all. Just a couple of representatives. It wasn't even like a galactic war like they kept talking about with the fall of the Corps. It was literally just a few representatives making shit happen.
Yeah, I mean, this was supposed to be, the reason that the other colors were brought into it, because, it was that dangerous and you didn't really see anybody.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. Let me see. I got one that I want to ask you guys about, because it's going to be near and dear to our hearts as soon as a few more movies come out. The Infinity Gauntlet.
Oh, wow.
I don't know enough about that.
Well, this is back in 1991. It was kind of Thanos' first shot across the Marvel Universe, and it was a big one when he put together the Infinity Gems to become the Supreme Being when he affixed the gems to one of his gauntlets. This involved all Marvel heroes, and it was a mini-series, 1 through 6, and from July to December of 91. It had an unbelievable amount of heroes come to try and beat this thing, and it ended up ending with Adam Warlock stealing the gauntlet and then sending the gems to 6 different individuals. Now, as far as character moments, I don't think there was a lot of it, but I do think this can't be unfixed in comic book time simply because it created a serious new enemy and a new device that could kind of change the face of the Marvel Universe.
Yeah, I really agree. That was kind of like a turning point for certain people too.
Yeah. Well, I mean, even people like Jesse and V who may not have read it. You mentioned the words Infinity Gauntlet, and V is at least curious, and even Jesse goes, "Oh shit."
Yes. I know that much.
Yeah, I've heard the term before.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those devices that when you hear about it in subsequent issues, you go, "Oh shit, things are bad."
Yeah, when people mention pulling out the Infinity Gauntlet, you're like, okay, so how's it going to go bad this time?
Yeah, I guess that's true. Okay, I got a good one for you, and it's one you guys are going to be able to talk about even without reading it. The Death of Robin.
Oh, I was wondering if we were going to bring that up.
You got to, I would think. Now, this is when Bruce Wayne's second Robin, Jason Todd, was beaten within an inch of his life by the Joker after a long conspiracy to draw him out. He beat him with a crowbar and then left him in a warehouse with a bomb that went off. And Batman arrived just in time to see the building blow up, kind of like an 80s cop movie.
I say keep that one fixed.
That sounds tragic and fun.
Well, I mean, why would you keep it fixed, Jesse?
I say keep it fixed because I believe it's despite the fact that he was not a well-liked character, it was more of a real strong defining moment for for Batman to like not put ironically not put anyone into that kind of danger again, despite the fact he picks up like 2 more or 3 more sidekicks.
Well, I agree. I think it was probably the strongest Batman moment of character definition since probably the death of his parents. It was the first time he actually failed to save somebody close to him, I think.
Mm-hmm.
With the exception of Barbara Gordon, but she lived. That's a whole different type of pain.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it also took Batman to this inevitably dark place because he caught up with the Joker and beat the shit out of him.
Oh, yeah. Beat him with an inch of his life.
Yeah.
But didn't kill him.
No, I think a bomb went... I think the Joker set another bomb and Batman had to get out before the bomb went off. But it is one of those cases...
He might have killed him?
No, I thought it was because Jim Gordon was there.
Maybe I only read it the once. I got a hardcover of it as a present. And, you know me, I read Batman stories only once simply because I'm not the Batman fan. You know, I just want to know what's going on. But the aftermath of it was kind of frightening because he did look like he was about to just snap this laughing bastard's neck. And the Joker was laughing the whole time he's losing teeth.
Because he finally got under his skin.
Yeah, he found out how to beat the Batman at something. Yeah, it was a good story. It's not one I necessarily revisit, but it is one you probably need to keep because it's one of those benchmark moments. It's one of those moments where a character shifts.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and that's where Batman shifted to the darker. I don't think he had a Robin for about 2 years afterwards. And the only reason he received one was not because the writers insisted he had to have one. I think they had a vote after a while. Does Batman need another Robin? And people said, yes, he does.
And it wasn't one he chose. It was one he kind of forced himself into.
Well, that depends. Are we talking pre-52 or post-52?
Pre.
Okay. Yeah, pre-52 was a kid who tracked down who Batman was and became the new Robin. The kid actually figured out by himself that Bruce Wayne was Batman and started seeking him out.
Right.
It can't be very difficult.
You would think not. But, hey, it's DC we're talking about, and this was also writing from the 80s and 90s, which meant, good with
People are stupid.
And we do things for evil! Let's see. What else do we have here?
House of M.
Wow, you just had to throw that one right in there.
Oh, yeah.
The problem is a House of M is technically part of a chain of events, though.
Yeah.
The House of M doesn't occur without several other things happening. Because, let's see. Let me see if I can bring up the list of... Okay, so you have Avengers Disassembled, which leads into House of M, which leads to the Civil War, which leads to World War Hulk, which leads to the Secret Invasion, which goes on to the Heroic Age. I'm sorry, to the Siege, to the Heroic Age, which is currently up to, which led to Avengers vs. X-Men.
Damn.
Wait, there's an Avengers vs. X-Men?
Yeah, we read that a while ago. So, I mean, I don't mind discussing that particular part of it, but it is part of a chain of events. The House of M was basically Brian Michael Bendis' attempt to put the genie back in the bottle, because mutants they weren't just a small minority in Marvel by then. They were an entire race. They had sections of continents, they were in cities, they were everywhere. And that was his attempt to not only tell a story, but it was their attempt to put the genie back in the bottle as far as mutants and make them rare again. Where was that? That was when there was an alternative reality created by the Scarlet Witch of mutants in charge and humans being the minority. And the whole thing ended with the Scarlet Witch declaring no more mutants, and her powers had caused 99% of the mutants across the planet to lose their powers.
What's left? Like less than 300 remaining?
It left closer to about 600 from what I understand in writing, but 300 was a nice solid number to rally behind. I remember reading that there was more than 300 left across the planet, but 300 was a good round number when it came to declarations and everything. But I think the House of M is actually important for several reasons. One, it did make mutants kind of a rare commodity again. It pushed the number way down. Two, it changed this course of the X-Men story because they were turning into a real global power at the head of this whole mutant initiative, and it deflated them. And as much as I'm an X-Men fan, you gotta admit, the X-Men stories are best when their backs are, like, absolutely against the wall.
Mm-hmm.
They don't seem to do well when they're at the center, front and center of most storylines. And one thing that a lot of people don't talk about that I think is important is that the House of M has a good show of the fallout of superheroing. The Scarlet Witch has been an Avenger for decades. I guess in comic book time, probably closer to about 8 years. But, there has to be a point where what you do weighs on your brain. She was suffering from post-traumatic stress, which is part of how the House of M came about. She created it because she was easily influenced after losing friends and family and just going through some of the shittiest things imaginable, and wars, So I think it's one of those quieter things that people don't measure is how being a superhero can really tweak your brain.
Yeah.
V, you may not be aware, her powers of chaos magic, due to a subconscious requirement, created 2 sons. She had kids, born out of magic. And then at one point she got through counseling, she determined that the kids weren't real and they were dispelled.
That has got to be hard.
Well, that was part of the reason why I think it was important to tell the story, because in the House of M, she had 3 kids.
Mm-hmm.
Without a father.
Well, I thought Vision was supposed to be the father.
He was supposed to be the father, but how can a robot shoot sperm like that?
Yeah, I know. Well,
It's a question. But yeah, I think in the center of this chain of events, House of M definitely has its place. I don't think it's avoidable.
Yeah.
Some of the subsequent stuff in that chain may have been tweaked or may have been able to be thrown out, but House of M is very important in that segment. We can actually push forward a bit because I wanted to ask you guys what you thought about the Schism, the event that took Cyclops' X-Men that were based in the Utopia Island in San Francisco and split them in half.
I'm unfamiliar with that event.
Oh, well, that's where Wolverine showed that he was tired of Cyclops' version of leadership. He didn't want the remaining mutants after House of M to be an army as Cyclops had put them together. He wanted to recreate the Xavier Institute.
And this is the start of them kind of switching roles, I guess.
The two of them came to blows. Camps divided, and X-Men chose whether or not they wanted to go and teach kids or whether or not they wanted to train kids. That's what it all boiled down to, was a difference in Wolverine and Cyclops' philosophy of what these kids needed to be prepared for. Now, obviously you broke down to the Jean Grey school, and then Avengers versus X-Men, and then you have, the current Uncanny X-Men and Wolverine in the X-Men series, which, if you've listened to the show long enough, you know that we are neck deep in. I guess my problem is that the story... You guys can have whatever opinions you want. I can see why a fight between Wolverine and Cyclops for leadership is important, but at the same time, I thought it was a step backwards, because the school had existed since the X-Men's formation in the 1960s.
Mm-hmm.
And to step out of the school and go to San Francisco, there's a whole group of new stories that could have been told. Then they had Utopia, the island that was built out of a former asteroid M in the San Francisco Bay. New stories were told, and then at some point the writers decided that they really needed to go back to the school. I don't like going in that circle.
Yeah, I can see that.
Let alone I still have trouble imagining Wolverine as the person at the head of a school full of superpowered kids.
I can't
Professor
imagine
Wolverine.
that he would want to do that.
Yeah, but he's the one who apparently did this. Due to a combination of funding and some ill-gotten gains, he created the Jean Grey School. I don't know, maybe he thought that the Xavier Institute was just blown up too much, so he wanted to make a new school on the same grounds.
Yeah,
Or
that's
just spin
the thing, though.
Cyclops'
You're gonna pick a name after a woman that died and came back to life. I don't know how many times. I guess maybe it was representative of the school. The school was blown up and brought back so many times. It's like, well,
to me, there's also the idea that you're going to create a school that teaches kids how to safely manage their powers and then name it after the lady and being that couldn't manage their powers to save their lives and destroy 3 planets. Choices, man! So, as a matter of story, the story can happen, but I guess you can unfix it because, like Flashpoint, the ending is a little bizarre to me.
I do like the current direction of the story, but it does have a lot of drama.
Yeah. Yeah, I will utterly agree with that. Okay, how about this one? The Death of Superman.
I thought they pretty much did that themselves.
Well,
you can undo it.
It's comic books. You can undo any death. Anyone, okay?
Yeah. I'm saying you can undo the event.
You think you can yank the event? You can unfix that point?
Yeah.
Overall, what effect was there?
What came out of it in the long run, basically?
Steel, Superboy, and one of the worst villains in... When I say one of the worst, I mean one of the meanest villains probably in DC history pre-52.
Really? Steel came about from the Death of Superman?
Yeah. John Henry Irons debuted his Metal Superman outfit as one of the Return of the Superman series.
Mm-hmm. Huh.
The Superboy clone came out as one of those series as well, and so did the Cyborg Superman.
Yep.
So I'm kind of on the fence about that, especially since that was kind of a serious first moment in comic books where a marquee character died.
Yeah.
It would have been a lot better if he stayed dead.
Yeah.
I would definitely agree with you on that. It would have been more interesting if he stayed dead, but I'm not talking about the Return of Superman. I'm talking about the Death of Superman. And I don't even think it was one of those things that was advertised. I think it was one of those, if I remember correctly, it was one of those things where you picked up the next issue in the line and all of a sudden there he was, flatlining in the middle of the page.
That's pretty significant.
Yeah, put that way. I seemed to remember a little more hype about it, but I think I'm getting that confused with the Return.
I'm of the mind that, the Death of Superman, keep that. That's really interesting. The way they brought about the Return, with the Return of Superman, I think you can unfix that mess.
Yeah. Honestly, Steel and some of these other characters, coming from that could easily be fixed just by, he was that role model and so forth, that these people could have come about anyway. But yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of on the fence.
I guess
I could go one way or the other with it.
I would say fix the Death of Superman. You can fix the advent of these new characters coming in. I guess you can just unfix the way he was resurrected. It was a little too perfect. They actually had the missile that contained his DNA. They put some kind of energy pulse on how his powers changed and all this bullshit.
Yeah.
Throw that out. It's all 90s bullshit. Throw that out. When I say keep the Death of Superman, you don't even have to keep him dead. That was just one of those moments in comics that I thought was brave. It was downright brave to take the biggest character in comic books and kill him.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if only you do that a lot.
Or at least with longer lasting
repercussions.
Effects.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like Jean Grey is currently now.
Yeah, people keep asking, when's she coming back? Oh, I don't know. Okay, how about this? And this is arguably a big one. Avengers Disassembled. This is a storyline, let me see, where they had just started to figure out that the Scarlet Witch was not going to be contained. Several characters had been ripped apart, had gone insane. The She-Hulk, for some reason, went savage and ripped the Vision in half the long way. Okay, and this is a story where the Scarlet Witch was flexing her powers. It looked like the Kree were invading. Hawkeye went to respond, and he died as a result. And the Avengers were ripped apart by the knowledge that the Scarlet Witch's reality-warping powers were causing all of this with her conscious knowledge.
Well, that sounds pretty interesting.
Well, I mean, critically, it was received fairly well critically. A lot of fans were upset that the flag-waving Avengers that they'd grown up with in the 80s and the 90s were being ripped apart, and all that was left was remnants, really. It featured a lot of characters. Even this was before Spider-Man was an Avenger. I just remember there was a lot of people showing up at the mansion because this Kree invasion was coming on, and there's Spider-Man in the middle of all these heroes looking up going, okay, I'm here. What are we doing? That looks big.
That's what she said.
So, I think this is too important to unfix because, at least me as a fan, I thought it fixed a lot of problems with the Avengers.
I've never been a huge Avengers fan, so it didn't really, upset me too terribly much when they, the eventual results of it. I was just like, oh, okay, maybe they'll, get back and they'll be better for it. That's kind of what I was assuming was the plan.
Well, let me put it this way: it stripped down the team, it removed the mansion as a base, it really took apart the Avengers to the point where at the end of the series there were no Avengers, not one. And then a couple months afterward is when the new Avengers series started. That's when Captain America, Luke Cage, Iron Man, Wolverine, Spider-Man, Spider-Woman, the Sentry, and the first Ronin came together as a squad, not because they were looking to create a team, but because it was just one of those weird events of necessity where all these people happened to be in the same place.
Mm.
That's the result, was the new Avengers, and arguably the renaissance that made the Avengers relevant again. The new Avengers series, the first issues were some of the biggest selling, I think, in modern comic books. I think this point has to be fixed because I think it literally fixed the Avengers.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it makes sense. And honestly, with the route that they were going with the Scarlet Witch, I don't see how it could have ended a different way.
Not without a bullet to the head, I would guess.
Yeah.
Call the Punisher. He'll fix this.
With lots of bullets. And an explosion or two.
Let me see. I'm trying to think of DC events, but I just, unfortunately, I haven't read a lot of them. I'm aware of them, but I haven't gotten my fingers in them, if that makes sense.
Mm.
How about one that Jesse probably knows better than any of us, and that's the Court of Owls.
Ah.
That's the Batman event where this new organization called the Owls, who may be the secret power of, money, wealth, and power, running Gotham's underbelly for unknown amounts of time, come up and start to confront the Batman. Jesse, can you explain this better than I can?
It's really hard to say. As much as I did enjoy the event, I'm not sure how really relevant it really is to keep around.
Mm-hmm.
Because it did provide a new villain, which presumably is Bruce Wayne's younger brother.
Oh, I forgot about that. Yeah.
It kind of tied in Dick Grayson into the history of Gotham City, despite him being a traveling circus performer.
Hmm.
Other than that, it just added a bunch of ninjas for him to fight randomly. Honestly, it did dive into his history. When he was a child, trying to find answers.
Okay.
Around his parents' death.
All right. Now, answer the question: is this an event that should happen? Is this something that has to happen to make a better story, or was there anything special happen in it that has to keep it around? Because I can't answer that.
No.
Really?
Really.
With all the hype,
as much as I enjoyed it, I don't feel there's enough important things that have happened in there to keep around that will not drastically affect everything else.
I'm honestly astonished to hear you say that, because all I've heard since the Court of Owls story came out is the hype around this group of characters and the stories that are possible out of it.
Yes, and that's it, hype and possibilities. There's nothing really significant, unless you want to take into account that the Talons, which are the Owls, are a militia group, or assassin group, whatever, are being used in events of in Gotham City during the Forever Evil stuff.
Okay. That just shocks me.
I find it very intriguing and enjoyable, but I feel like there's not a whole lot that they've impacted other than Gotham City.
Okay. That's intriguing to me. How about the Sinestro Corps War? At this point, there's only two groups of lanterns, green and yellow, and Sinestro has finally managed to come up with the idea to mass-produce his ring instead of just holding on to one for himself. And he created an entire corps that was, I guess you could say, the equal of the lanterns. It brought a war to Earth. It ended like you expect. The Green Lanterns won. Yay, good people. And Sinestro's corps was shoved back, but they weren't destroyed. They were just defeated.
Yeah, I'd say you need to keep that.
Well, there's the obvious beginning, is that finally the world was saved by somebody who wasn't wearing a bat, an S, or a W on their chest.
Yeah, that, and just, I mean, some of the other events that sprung out of that. Didn't the current Earth Green Lantern die as a result of that?
No, I don't think any Earth Green Lantern died out of that one. I do think in the course of the return, several of the Lost Lanterns died.
Yeah, that's probably what I'm thinking of.
Actually, there's more Earth Green Lanterns than ever, because now there's the fourth one, Simon Baz. No, fifth, actually. He's the fifth one. There was an interesting turn where the Cyborg Superman, Superboy Prime, and Kyle Rayner were all Yellow Lanterns during this period. Let alone they had the Anti-Monitor behind them.
Right.
Kind of DC's version of the Watcher. Or the Evil Watcher, I guess. It was an interesting story because I guess you could say everything was at least on the board. There was no idea that everybody is going to survive this. Anybody could have been killed. Although none of the main characters really died. It was kind of...
But at the same time, it did bring Sinestro back as kind of a relevant force again.
Yeah, it did. At least he was head of an army instead of an unlikely one man against all the others. I guess you can fix that. It didn't really bring a whole lot, but it didn't change the course of any other of the subsequent series. It did just add a whole lot more to the Green Lantern mythos than just, I am the guy with the ring. It sometimes happens. Let me see. We should probably just have one more and then finish this up. What other events can you think of?
Marvel versus DC.
That's more of a what if than anything else.
I know.
No, there was a few crossover events that have happened of Marvel heroes fighting DC heroes, and those were money grabs. They changed nothing. Those are definitely out of continuity events, so you don't have to even try to discuss that.
I don't know. I thought it was pretty impressive that Batman defeated the Hulk by gut punching him so that he breathed in knockout gas, and that somehow worked.
You're not serious, are you?
No,
I'm absolutely serious.
It happened.
Shit! I'm sorry.
Yes. Me too.
That's unfucking believable.
Yeah, that was like back in the 80s or some shit.
God damn it. Okay, I got one here. The last one, no, actually, that one's too fucked up. I was going to discuss the Extinction Agenda, because not everything the X-Men do is great. That's definitely one of those events that could have gone, because it changed absolutely dick all. The only thing it did was put together more X-Men in one place. That's the series that kind of led to the blue and gold teams.
Right.
And you could have written that in one of a number of ways. There's nothing in that needed to happen. So the Extinction Agenda can be unfixed and forgotten, really. Let's see.
What about...
How about the Civil War? How's that
I was
place?
literally just about to suggest that.
You know what? I think that should be fixed.
Well, I mean, the Civil War was a difference in ideologies. Iron Man was still head of S.H.I.E.L.D., and he was leading a movement to make all superheroes register and get governmental training, but that also indentured them to taking, jobs as dictated by the government. Captain America led the other section of heroes that didn't want to register because he believed that autonomy is important in superheroics. If you're beholden to any group, you're not really a superhero, you're someone's police force.
Yeah.
So this led to a hero versus hero war. Meanwhile, several villains made their moves and managed to get away with more shit than ever before. The eventual fallout of this was not just that Captain America surrendered, it led to Norman Osborn taking a lead role in the Secret Invasion eventually. which led to the Dark Age, but that was further down the line. The more immediate thing that happened was that Iron Man's power was solidified. They created the Avengers Initiative, and a few issues later, Captain America was shot and killed. It was
I remember that because it was a big deal. Because
it was an unannounced event where in Captain America 25 in the Brubaker era, all of a sudden he was being led away in handcuffs, and next thing you know, a sniper hit him in the side. I don't think you can get rid of this at all.
No. Yeah.
You know, this is one of those things that has to happen, and I'm not even saying it from a sales standard, because it seems like one of those conversations we had at the beginning of this section. It's a difference in philosophy. You know, what makes up a superhero? What gives superheroes the rights to do what they need? And then it actually gives you both sides of the argument as to why a superhero should be trained and registered and why they should not be.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know, and it's an important debate, and I don't think it's one that people discuss about the legalities and how difficult it would be to be a comprehensive superhero with either multiple amounts of training or limited to no training.
Yeah. To me, it wasn't even necessarily about the training. It was about their ultimate allegiance.
Well, I mean, the allegiance factored in, but I just mean, like I said before, it's philosophies. You know,
yeah.
What does it mean to be a superhero? What do you need to be a superhero? Do you need help to be a superhero? And we actually got the answers in both the affirmative and the negative out of one story.
Mm-hmm.
Let alone, this is a story that kind of pumped up several characters that hadn't had spotlights before. You know, Miss Marvel, Luke Cage, Spider-Woman, who turned out to be a Skrull later, but I digress. You know, even the Punisher, for once, actually signed up in one of these crossover events with Captain America's squad. The Punisher got involved, and that never happens.
Yeah, yeah, he's always just like, it's that crazy guy.
Yeah, I think didn't the Punisher get summarily disciplined by Captain America at one point?
Well, yeah, because the Punisher found out that he signed up with Captain America, performed one mission, came back to the base with everybody, found out that there were two villains actually signed up with Captain America's squad, shot them both in the forehead, and then Captain America tackled him and told him, "You're out," and he just said, "Go ahead, show you're in charge, punish me!" And so
the Punisher got shit beat out of him by a super soldier.
Yeah, and then he threw him out, and you know, that's just literally one of those moments where you're not sure if the Punisher is the most brilliant man ever for making a point, or just some weird fucking psycho with a 45. And unfortunately, the answer is both.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a very strange moment, but the whole thing led to so many things that came afterwards, and it was one of those stories that was both
thought-provoking and...
Yeah, it was thought-provoking, and it was a big seller.
Yeah.
You know, it wasn't just a good story. Yeah, a lot of people actually picked it up, and the Civil War mattered. You know, the only unfortunate part is
I knew about it.
There was the only thing that was unfortunate was there wasn't a whole lot of stories that showed what happened and what villains were doing. There was a couple of references as to what they were up to, but you got the feeling they could have gotten away with tons of shit during this period.
Yeah.
Yeah, the only thing I'm really sad about events that happened in Civil War is that some of them were undone.
Yeah, I mean, there is the idea of the One More Day event where Spider-Man's marriage was undone, you know, ripped out of continuity, which was just the weakest writing device ever.
As well as his revealing his identity.
Yeah, that was also undone as part of One More Day, which was weak. You know, during Civil War, he announced his identity to the world during One More Day. Mephisto took all that away. That's up there with a fucking retcon punch in Infinite Crisis. You know, Superman punching the walls of some kind of crystal prison, or Superboy Prime punching the walls of a crystal prison, and the reverberations caused all kinds of odd things to happen, like Jason Todd coming back to life. I kid you not, that was the device they used to undo Jason Todd's death. Not I fought my way out of hell, not I am a clone, not I fell into a Lazarus pit. Retcon punch! If you check enough comic book message boards, you'll find that as an ongoing joke about bad writing. You know, and it's like the Clone Wars. As many interesting characters came out of the Clone saga for Spider-Man, you can unfix that. That didn't need to happen.
Yeah.
Yep.
Not at all. It led to nothing hardcore really interesting happening. You know, fuck. I think MVP had better clones. Man, we've been on that for 45 minutes. It's been almost 3.5 hours. We got to get the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
Guys have to do research next week because I can't.
Okay. we're having the interview, right?
Yep, next week we are having a guest, Mark Cronin, coming on to talk about the new 5th edition of D&D.
Woo!
Yep, you guys are going to have to come up with the questions, because I don't have much beyond my play style. I haven't played many games since 3.5.
Yeah.
And remember, you're not going to come up with just technical questions. You got to ask him about the background, some of the writing, the concepts, what they're fixing, or what they're working on. You guys have got to come up with well-rounded stuff that people are going to need to know.
Oh, fun.
For help, they're not going to know how to plan their elf ranger.
Well, the Rangers still exist.
Oh my god, now we're getting to philosophies. If I don't shoot arrows, do I exist? So next week it is a D&D interview with Mark Cronin. Thank you very much for tuning in. I invite you to roll with us again next week. You have a great weekend. I am Jeremy.
Steve.
Jesse.
And V.
Have a great one, people. Am I the only one excited that as a result of this we can see V in a metal bikini?
Wait, what?
Chainmail bikini. Got it.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I just volunteered you for something that I want you to do.
Okay. I'm okay with this, but why am I doing it?
Wait, there's a why?
Point.
Yeah, that's going to make it in post.